teams are being read out here by the stadium announcer. One change for Crystal Palace, and the team that beat Liverpool. Chris Richards comes in for Jefferson Lerma. It is Dean Henderson in goal, Klein, Anderson and Richards. Daniel Munez, Will Hughes, Adam Wharton and Tyrick Mitchell, with Michael Olise and Ebereche Eze, Jean-Philippe Mateta up front. For West Ham United, 3 changes to the team that lost over 2 legs but drew 1-1 with Bayer Leverkusen on Thursday night. Lucas Fabianski retains his spot between the sticks. Vladimir Coufal, Kurt Zouma, Angelo Ogbonna and Emerson, who comes in for Aaron Cresswell in left back. Thomas Souček and Edson Alvaro. Ogbonna in for Agard, by the way, who got injured in that game on Thursday night. Mohamed Kudus, James Ward-Prowse and Lucas Paqueta, with Michael Antonio up top. The South Londoner, born in Wandsworth, came through at Tooting and Mitcham before moving to Reading. Did Michael Antonio, the referee, high-fives his officials, his mates in the centre circle, plunges his right hand into his pocket. I think that's maybe where he keeps his coins, Steve, or his cards. Why do they keep the coins, Steve?
In their pocket? I have no idea.
Is it a special coin? Do they use special coins?
No, it's a regular coin, no?
Is it just a regular coin?
I've captained and don't have its change.
Is it a 50p or a pound?
No, it won't be a pound. It's too small.
I just wonder, because obviously the flight of a coin will be dependent on the size of it. And
yeah, I'm going 50p.
They should have special coins, shouldn't they, really? You would have thought so. They'd be diamond in the Premier League these days, diamond encrusted, made of pure platinum, probably or whatever the most rarest metal is. They can probably afford it, I would have thought. Anyway, we're about to get off and underway on BBC Radio London. Crystal Palace in the centre circle, the red and blue half shirts, blue shorts and blue socks. West Ham United are wearing all white in the away kit, shirt, shorts and socks, and it'll be Palace attacking the White Horse Lane end of the ground, where the supermarket is, if you've ever been here, and maybe pop to the shops before you've come to the game, or maybe afterwards, Steve, go and get your big shop in on the way home, possibly. And that's the end that West Ham United defend in this first half. Lucas Fabianski, 39 these days, Steve, picks the ball up in his 6-yard box and looks to clear his lines. On the bench for the home team, by the way, Remy Matthews, the goalkeeper, Joel Ward, Rob Holding, James Tompkins, Jordan Ayew, Jeffrey Schlupp, Odsonne Edouard, Nehru Ahamada and Jairo Riedewald. Whilst West Ham United potential changes: Alphonse Areola, the goalkeeper, Ben Johnson, Aaron Cresswell, Calvin Phillips in midfield, potentially Maxwell Cornet, Danny Ings, Keelan Casey, Divan Obama and Lewis Orford. A couple of youngsters on the bench as well for West Ham United, and their manager David Moyes is already out to the edge of his technical area and barking some instructions. Here's Anderson, arguably man of the match last week, captain's innings against Liverpool in that 0-0 draw, that 1-0 win, as it's worked out wide towards Lucas Paquetá, the Brazilian, on the left-hand side for Crystal Palace. Steered in field to Edson Alvarez. Here is the Italian 35-year-old Angelo Ogbonna, shaven-headed, short sleeves, wearing gloves. It is a bit nippier than you'd think today, and that's pinged off the boots of Michael Antonio for a throw into Palace on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a lot colder than I think a lot of people will have anticipated, but I'm just looking at it. The curious thing for, the Crystal Palace setup with this box midfield, Wharton and Hughes at the bottom, Eze Olise make the top of that box, is how you accommodate that. It's a very compact way to play centrally. So how do West Ham cover that off? They've got that numerical advantage in there, and I'm just trying to work out how they're doing it. Well, the best way is to do what they've done, keep possession. Yeah. And it's immaterial, but yeah, it was a very tight central area at the moment.
Flicked out wide by Ward-Prowse. Now it's Kudus who picks up, strapping on that left wrist of his, manages to squirt it out wide towards the Czech international Vladimir Coufal. Here's another one of his compatriots, Souček in midfield, rolls it back to Ogbonna halfway inside his own half. They go to the left, and Emerson, who dinks it long, headed on by Ward-Prowse. Anderson flicks it away, wins a secondary challenge, and then Paquetá gets absolutely larruped by Will Hughes. The referee waves play on. Paquetá still lying in a crumpled heap. Will Hughes may still find himself in trouble for that with Graham Scott, the referee. The Brazilian playing on the left-hand side of that attacking three for West Ham United, up to his feet, and here comes Kudus peeling in from the left-hand touchline. Will Hughes goes in again. Maybe he's looking to get sent off with 2 tackles in the same phase of play, Steve. Not quite sure. And now Edson Alvarez has it, and West Ham United calmly work it to the left-hand side. Ward-Prowse over the halfway line to Emerson. He's up to his feet, Paquetá, he's okay. Then he gets caught from behind this time by Wharton. It's dabbed towards Evereche. Eze scored the winner last week at Liverpool. Needed a quick flick out towards Elise. Made a good run. They've worked it into the path of Daniel Núñez instead.
And he was free. He'd made a lovely little run off the back of the West Ham defence, and it needed a little lofted pass over the top. Unfortunately, Eze turned away from it to keep possession. I think he could have taken a risk there. I think the pass was on. There was a lot of space in behind that West Ham United defence to play it into.
We haven't had a break in play for Graham Scott to have a word with Will Hughes. The longer this goes...
I wonder if he'd have made a real fuss, Paquetá, if he'd have thrown himself upstream, because it was a horrible challenge. But with the game not having a pause in it has allowed Paquetá to recover, get up, and I'm not sure anything can be done now. It'll just be let go.
It's gone back to Dean Henderson, clean sheet last week. The Whitehaven-born former Manchester United goalkeeper, and then Mateta and Ogbonna battling for the ball. Jean-Philippe Mateta comes away with it. Here's Hughes. He now gets dumped to the ground by Thomas Souček, and the referee Graham Scott stops play. He's going to have a word with Will Hughes about the tackle on Paquetá and Thomas Souček. The referee is saying, look, I'm officiating this to Thomas Souček, and I'm having a word with both of you, and has given Crystal Palace the free kick. And that's actually good refereeing from Graham Scott.
And good reactions from both players, actually. Paquetá didn't make a meal of it, and Will Hughes didn't make a meal of that, because it's not so much the way he's challenged, it's the contact. You've got one running one way and you're hitting the other, it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
But it wasn't particularly nasty. It wasn't a high foot or
no,
studs.
it's like the thigh, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and so therefore the impact will be less damaging. And I think that's why the referees let it go. It is good refereeing and good reactions from both players.
Jean-Philippe Mateta is on the edge of the penalty areas. It's clipped towards the far post. Anderson tries to head it back into danger area. He scored in each of Oliver Glasner's first 3 Premier League games at home. Jean-Philippe Mateta, this is a stat which is being bandied around, to become the first player to net 4 in 4 successive top-flight home games for the Eagles since someone did it in a run of 5, December 1990 to January 1991. You know who it was, Steve Brown?
No.
You know him, you've
Mark
played
Bright.
with him. Mark Bright, you wouldn't think he was that old, would you?
Oh, he is. He's ancient, Brighty.
Here comes the corner, 6-yard box. Ogbonna heads it away. Wharton gets there. The former Blackburn Rovers man is able to steer it out wide towards Eze again on that right-hand side. The former Millwall youngster, and then went to Queen's Park Rangers, having been released from Millwall. He's got it inside the penalty area, tricks it back towards Michael Elise into the 18-yard box again. Can he spray it out wide towards Anderson? Here's Anderson, clicks it far post. It's a header in. Crystal Palace take the lead through Michael Elise, and Joachim Anderson has to be given credit for that as well. A lovely ball stood up to the far post, and there's Michael Elise to guide home his 7th goal of the season. It's Crystal Palace 1, West Ham United 0.
I really like at the start of that move Wharton's part. He played, a ball went out to him and he drove past his marker, and that allowed him a little bit of time and space to pick that first pass. I think it went into Eze after that, and then they worked the ball across the penalty area out to this left-hand side from right to left, and the ball found its feet at Anderson, and that first time cross caught everybody out. I think they thought he was going to take a touch, and he didn't. It was delivered first time into a great area, middle of the 6. The marking's questionable, the delivery's superb, but once it finds its way to Eze, he's just got to find the target. Fabianski caught in no man's land. 1-0 Palace.
Well, they will look at Emerson for the marking on that, because he A, played Elise onside, but B, there was like a 3-foot gap between them, which allowed the ball to work its way into the path of Michael Elise. And as Fabian, and it was in the corridor of uncertainty for a goalkeeper to come for it as well.
It's a great delivery.
Brilliant.
It's caught them out, because listen, in the middle of that move, West Ham looked so compact. You couldn't see a way Palace were going to break through it, and to go wide and deliver that cross back into the centre that quickly has caught West Ham out. Excellent ball from Anderson.
Well, Crystal Palace have scored the opening goal in 8 of the last 9, though, and if you're a West Ham United fan, this is significant. They have only won 2 of them. Steve.
Yeah.
So they do
concede
goals, and they've dropped 15 points in that time, Steve. Now is Eze, edge of the penalty area though, breaking in field. He sweeps it towards the left, in towards Tyreek Mitchell, and his shot is deflected over the bar. In fact, it came off his boot. The goalkeeper, the referee's given the goal kick, not a corner kick. Palace looking to double their lead, 8 minutes gone. Eagles 1-0 up against the Hammers. Could have been 2, Steve Brown.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that was offside against Eze, but because it looked like it was deflected, didn't it, off of Zuma?
Yeah.
I don't understand why it's not a corner. I looked over at the assistant referee, and his flag
it wasn't
up.
Deflected. It was just a poor shot.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Okay, it looked deflected. Okay, then you have to go. That's a missed chance because it was a really well worked move. The ball into Eze, the chest control from Eze to then set Mitchell was superb. It just required the finish, didn't get it.
Palace have won it strongly. Here is Eze in off the left-hand side, slipping it into midfield. Elise takes it away from one challenge, but he is being hassled and harried by a combination of Edson Alvarez and Paquetá. Now it's Ward-Prowse, clips it behind him towards Paquetá. West Ham United looking to respond, and it's Anderson who picks up possession, and Jean-Philippe Mateta, good ball out wide, delivered to Daniel Muniz. Here go Palace again. Loud noise inside the stadium, slips it into the path of Elise. Muniz behind him. Elise tricks it one way then the other, tries to create space for the cross just outside the West Ham penalty area, in front of the Arthur Waite stand on the far side, in front of the West Ham United fans on the far side, and a throw-in goes Palace's way. 33 points for Palace. Brentford went above them yesterday with that win over Luton, but they're looking to go above the Bees again with a victory. West Ham United starting the day in 8th. But having played more than some of the teams they're challenged with. But now it's Mikel Antonio, steams over the halfway line. Back at him though comes Will Hughes, makes a strong tackle, does the flaxen head from a Derby County man, and Crystal Palace win possession back.
And that's the downside to having your striker dropping 25 yards into his own half and to win back possession is he has nothing in front of him. He has to drive with the ball. Credit to Will Hughes for staying alongside him, because the minute he paused to try and look at an option for himself, Antonio, Hughes made a wonderful challenge to win the ball back for Palace.
Eze, Mateta made a run centrally. Eze spins away from Souček in midfield, and you do wonder, Man City looked leggy yesterday against Chelsea. I mean, they played in Europe. I mean, I know Pep's moaned, but and I think he's had too much of a moan up, to be perfectly honest. But you do wonder what that. I know he's made changes, 3 of them, with Paquetá and Emerson coming back in today for West Ham, but how much Thursday night took out of the Hammers, and they are under the cosh again. Here's Mateta to Eze, little back heel, skips away from one challenge, drives a shot just wide, and it's been all Palace. Opening 11 minutes, they're leading by a goal to 0, and they've had 2 or 3 other opportunities. Steve Brown.
Tails are up for sure. Eze's looking really dangerous. The system's causing West Ham a little bit of an issue here. Look, I did say this very early in the game. How do you accommodate a box midfield? And they can't accommodate at the moment. Eze and Elise are getting little gaps in between the midfield and the back line, and that's causing them issue. Lovely link up from Mateta and Eze that allowed him to get his shot away, and it's all Palace.
Elise's 10 Premier League starts this season, 10 goal involvements, Steve.
Yeah.
7 goals and 3 assists in those 10 starts in the Premier League. Shows how important he has been. And to be fair to Roy Hodgson, before he obviously was relinquished of his managerial work here at Crystal Palace, he again was without him for quite a large chunk of the season.
Yeah, but we see that an awful lot, Phil, where managers, you don't get any leeway.
No,
you don't get any leeway, and we all know, because you're sitting there going, he's got his best 2 players out.
Anderson,
but no one cares.
Guides a header away, picked up by the relatively new arrival Adam Wharton, former Blackburn Rovers player, of course. The Rovers fans were distraught to see him go, but chance to play in the Premier League, and then Ogbonna almost caught in possession by Jean-Philippe Mateta, himself in a rich goal-scoring form at the moment, and he forces the goalkeeper Fabianski to flick it out wide towards this near touchline, gets stuck underneath the boots of Soufal, throw in quickly taken, and Palace are on the march again outside the West Ham penalty area. Mateta spinning and turning, bright orange boots, being hassled and harried by Kurt Zouma, rolls it back up the touchline to Will Hughes. He's caught by Mohamed Kudus, and it's a Palace free kick halfway inside the West Ham United half on the left-hand side. Yeah. David Moyes has worked his way back into the dugout. I would imagine there's some coaching conversations going on.
Absolutely. Mistakes are being made from West Ham Ham, and I was going to say, because you were halfway through sort of explaining the legginess of West Ham, it has to have had an impact. Thursday, Sunday has to have had an impact on this squad, and they are looking tired. Lots of little mistakes creeping in. Fabianski electing to chip the ball to Soufal, who was under pressure immediately. Ball goes out of play. Tails are up for Palace. They are in the faces of West Ham.
There's a free kick, far post. It's up in the air from a West Ham head, poked away by Edson Alvarez. Eze will bring it under control down the left-hand side, stays in for play, still has the ball up against Soufal. Little bit of trickery. Muniz, though, is unable to keep it in. Well, he did keep it in, and then Fabianski comes and ball juggles away, and West Ham United have a chance to build. 13.5 played. BBC Radio London, Sunday Sport, given away to Palace again. They've won it back. Here is Elise. He's already got one goal. Slides it towards the right-hand side. West Ham have won it. Antonio, little bit of a solitary figure, runs straight into Adam Wharton in midfield, and it's coming back.
They've got to leave him high up the pitch. He's got to occupy the two centre-halves of Palace. He's 25 yards into his own half. When he wins the ball back, he is pressurised by two midfielders, and he's losing the ball. Get him higher up the pitch, try and feed him and get him the ball to stick in the Palace half. They just can't get out at the moment, West Ham.
As they popping up in holes at the moment. The only thing you'd say for Crystal Palace, they don't score goals in multiples. That's their only downside in recent times. One at Liverpool, 2 against Man City, but the second was a late one and it was a bit of a consolation. 1 at Forest, 1 against Luton, 1 against Spurs. If they can start scoring goals in multiples, they would then move away maybe from that danger of the stat of scoring first but not getting the win. Let's go around our other games then, shall we? We'll start at the Emirates. Arsenal-Leicester in the WSL. Emily Herbert.
It's still Arsenal 1, Leicester City 0. The only goal of the game coming from Beth Mead, 28 minutes in. But you can't write a side like Leicester off. Chances from Amiki and Rantala on the counter, looking to bounce back after their FA Cup semi-final defeat. Arsenal 1, Leicester City 0.
Dwight McNeil's made it 2-0 to Everton against Nottingham Forest. Forest are just a point above the relegation spots. Luton, of course, losing 5-1 in 2 successive games. Once against Man City and yesterday against Brentford. And here goes Elise again. Edge of the West Ham penalty area into Jean-Philippe Mateta, saved, and then Eze with a bicycle kick rattles it into the back of the net. Jean-Philippe Mateta denied. Eze though strikes home. 15 minutes played. Lift off at Selhurst Park. It's the Eagles flying at the moment, and the Hammers getting hammered a little bit. It's Palace 2, West Ham United 0.
Yeah, they haven't got going at all, West Ham, but you've got to give Palace credit. The tempo's been superb. This started with a steal from the centre-half, Richards. He got in front of his man, and that gave possession to Palace. He finds Elise in acres of space after the transition and turnover. Mateta makes a superb run off the back of Ogbonna, fed by Elise. The shot is saved, the rebound falls kindly. Well, no, not so kindly, actually, to Eze. It's very acrobatic what he has to do. He twists his body, bicycle kicks. It's a good 6 foot off the ground when he volleys it, and it's rashed into the back of the net. Palace 2 up, thoroughly deserved. Could be a long afternoon for West Ham if they don't keep hold of this football.
They've got to try and get some foothold in the game, Steve. At the moment they are, aren't they, like a climber holding on to one rope in Sly Stallone's cliffhanger. They need to find some way of getting a balance in this game and getting themselves established. Let's go to the northwest. Sale against Harlequins in the Gallagher Premiership. Josh Watton.
17 minutes on the clock here. Disastrous start for Harlequins. They trailed by 15 points to 0. Ben Carew with an early try, doubled by Sam Dugdale's effort on the left-hand touchline. George Ford only managed to put one of the conversion attempts over, however, from a penalty, and made it 15 points to 0 to Sale.
A lot of conversations going on out there. James Ward-Prowse looks at Thomas Souček and says, look, what are we doing? We're not forcing it high enough, but...
I think that was to the bench.
Really?
Yeah, I think that was to the bench. The ball's been put in an area where your centre-forward should be running and chasing down. They need an outlet. Antonio was on the opposite side of the pitch. Listen, this is brilliant tempo from Palace. They're sensing a third here. They're not sitting back. They're not resting on their laurels. They are pressurising West Ham all over the pitch. They are outworking, outfighting and outclassing their opponent at the moment.
Well, David Moyes out to the edge of the technical area. He's shouting at Kurt Zouma at this moment in time. Oliver Glasner, though, likewise, just encouraging his team. They've taken a 2-0 lead, and Elise lets it slip under his boots and tries to chase after it, but well guided back to his own goalkeeper by Emerson. David Moyes at the moment just looks a little frustrated out there, and that's a foul. So says the referee.
Soft.
Muniz against Paquetá. Free kick to West Ham United.
Yeah.
It just gives them a chance to calm it down, though, doesn't it? If you're West Ham, just don't rush this free kick. Slow it down a little bit. Stop the Palace pace.
They're shell-shocked. That's what they are. They're shell-shocked. And I am going to give them a little bit of an outball, and I am sympathetic. I do think the European campaign's taken its toll, 100%. But you still have to, as Crystal Palace, attack the game, and they have attacked this from minute one. They've been on the front foot. They've pressurised at a very, very high tempo. The centre halves have been stepping in front of the attackers to win the ball back on that first ball up. That's allowed, Wharton and Hughes to get into the game. If it's not them two, the ball's gone straight to Eze and Elise. They're just playing very, very well, Palace, and taking full advantage of it.
Came flying out of the dugout just then, Steve. He was unhappy about something, barking out some instructions to the West Ham United players. Whether he wanted the free kick taken quickly or whether he wanted James Ward-Prowse on it, I'm not quite sure. But it's definitely the former Southampton man who is now on this free kick. West Ham trailing 2-0. Pings it long, up in the air. Souček will try and challenge. Joachim Andersen, though, is there to head it away. Joachim Andersen, and that's going to be a throw-in on the far touchline for West Ham United. But Andersen, the 27-year-old Danish international, 95th start for Crystal Palace. He's in the middle of that three. It's not necessarily what you'd call the most experienced, certainly as a three together. Chris Richards, the American, and Nathaniel Klein, the other members of that three. And here's a ball that is clipped away by Will Hughes to Mateta, who then spins it out wide towards Elise. It's got beyond Ward-Prowse down the right-hand side. Muniz getting forward with him on that flank. It's still with Elise. It's going to slip it infield to Will Hughes, round the corner to Eze. He's got a bit of support, as he with Tyreek Mitchell. Hughes instead drags it out wide to the left-hand side of the West Ham penalty area. Mitchell steps back. Here's Hughes, whips across, far post. It's got it off Emerson. It's the third goal. Emerson turning it at the far post into his own net, under pressure from Muniz. It may well go down as an own goal, and West Ham United totally and utterly shell-shocked, abject at the back, and are being put to the sword. It's Palace 3, West Ham United 0, and we've only played 20 minutes.
Yeah, and I want to go back to where this started from as well, which was a brilliant bit of control and set from Mateta deep into his own half, but it set up the counter-attack. It set up Elise to break down that right-hand side. I actually thought they picked the wrong option when they kept the ball and would come from right to left. But if you think about the first goal with Andersen crossing it in, this is very similar. It was a cross that came in that I think caught everybody out. They weren't expecting that delivery to come in. I'm not sure what Emerson was thinking. He's taken up a decent defensive position, but I think he thinks Fabianski's going to come. He doesn't. He gets caught in two minds, and then he throws a leg out, which is the last thing you can do. Indecisive defending is the worst type, and he throws that right leg out. It bounces off his shin, back of the net, 3-0.
21 minutes on the clock, and it's West Ham trailing Palace by 3 goals to 0. And after that goal, Souček came to this near touchline to have a conversation with David Moyes. There was a mass gathering of West Ham United players halfway between their D in the centre circle. Zuma, Antonio, I think Ward-Prowse was involved. A real big conversation, but this game is in danger of being over within half an hour, Steve, because West Ham United playing with at the back again goes back to Angelo Ogbonna under pressure from Elise. I mean, at the moment, Palace are like Dracula at a blood bank.
Yeah.
I mean, they are sniffing it. They're sniffing the Type O constantly. They're going for it again.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about what West Ham have produced in this first 21 and a half minutes, they've not laid a glove on Palace. No. Not a glove. And what I would say, it'd be like me and you climbing in the ring with Sugar Ray Leonard. We're not getting anywhere near him.
Back heels, tricks and flicks. Eze pokes it behind him. He finds the American Chris Richards. It's on the left-hand side where Tyreek Mitchell tries to carry forward. Clipped over the halfway line. Will Hughes will mop up, though, for Crystal Palace. Look, Mikel Antonio, I mean, he's such an isolated figure. He's battling with about 3 or 4 players there. He's never going to be able to hold on to the ball.
Whoever receives in the West Ham side is immediately under pressure. What I will say is that Crystal Palace's work rate and tempo, is it credit to Oliver Glasner. I haven't seen him play enough since he's walked in the building, but I am very impressed with this. But is it a little bit both ways? Have Palace played at a tempo that's caught West Ham out? Have West Ham got nothing in the tank? Are we seeing the result of that? But this is Crystal Palace. This is only going to go 4 and 5. They are absolutely murdering West Ham at the moment.
Space in midfield, though. Ward-Prowse and this time Souček have sat deeper, but it's allowed Palace to just play it through midfield unchallenged into the West Ham United half. You can understand it, though, because they want to sit deeper. But here goes Eze. Back heel to him again from Mateta. Eze strikes one just wide. This could go 4-5 quite easily, Steve Brown.
Just said that. They're in total control. West Ham are shell-shocked. They don't know who's picking up who, so what they're doing is they're dropping what we call safety in numbers. They're dropping into a deep formation in their own half, but nobody's actually taking responsibility for picking anybody up in the Palace side. This box midfield is causing them all kinds of trouble. Elise and Eze are in delightful form. Mateta is producing little layoffs, 1-2s on the edge of the box. I've never seen that from him.
No.
It's all coming together for Palace, and it's all falling apart for West Ham.
David Moyes had to march virtually to level with the edge of his own team's penalty area to bark out some instructions. He was followed down the touchline by the fourth official, James Bell, ding-dong to his mates, Steve, and just to try and get some instructions out there. And here go Palace again, swept out wide to Tyreek Mitchell. Dinks it into midfield. Will Hughes, sun starting to come out in South London.
You've got the 3 subs warming up. They've been sent out to warm up, right?
They're not doing anything.
They're just standing there watching the game. Now, they could be on in 2 minutes, the way this is going.
Elise spins, turns, edge of the West Ham penalty area, gets bumped by James Ward-Prowse. Free kick given. Danny Ings is warming up. Well, he's not going to do much about stopping Palace, is he?
I'm going to give Palace credit because they're just in delightful mood. You know, in terms of Elise, Eze, Mateta linking up. You've got Hughes in that last attack with the cross. He's playing at the bottom of the box, and he's in the opposition penalty area with the delivery that causes Emerson issues that leads to the own goal. You know, but the goals have given them confidence. That win last week, I said, could we see a different morale, a bit more belief? The pressure's off a little bit. You know, I don't know if that's what we're seeing. But this is a Palace performance that I've not seen in a long time.
This is not a David Moyes West Ham performance either, is it?
I agree. Yeah,
you don't expect it. I mean, and as a coach, you're stood there going, "What can I do?
You can't.
What can I do?" It will be Elise with the free kick. Oh, it's plucked out of the air by Fabianski. Saw it from a long way out. But the Palace fans are on their feet. Michael Elise.
Yeah, it just didn't have the pace, did it?
No.
It allowed Fabianski.
It's a long way out.
Yeah, and it great in terms of up and over the wall, accurate in the corner, but not enough pace. Fabianski had enough time to see it, get across and make a comfortable save in the end.
Here go Palace again, they've won it. Down the right-hand side for Munoz, one of those new signings that arrived back in January. In towards Elise, slips it out wide to Munoz again down the right-hand side, the Colombian. Here is Adam Wharton, who arrived from Blackburn Rovers. Hughes, it's a lovely spin and turn. Eze with a shot over the top of the bar. He had Elise and Mateta attacking inside the penalty area. But Steve Brown, we played 25 minutes, it's 3-0 Palace. And if anyone's just joined us, so this is not what West Ham fans want to hear, but if this had been 4 on that scoreboard, it wouldn't have necessarily looked out of place.
Could be 5. Let's be honest.
That's how damaging it's been.
That's too easy in terms of Eze getting the turn away from his marker. I think it was Alvarez he got away from. He's got to keep that down. He has to hit the target. He has to work. Fabianski has blasted it over. But that's a free shot from 16 yards out, slightly on the angle. You know, they're being outworked, outclassed. I don't know how they get back in this game with the way the performance is going.
Well, that's a yellow card for Mikel Antonio as well, is it? Well, Graham Scott's having a word with him, and it is a yellow card because as Elise was getting away from him and he just pulled him back. And, you know, that's frustration from the former Tooting and Mitcham man, Mikel Antonio, because
he's dropping deeper and deeper and deeper. He can't get in the game. No. They're not fit. He wants to be holding the ball up against Anderson. And I mean, if I was him, I'd pick on Klein.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
I know he's quick, Klein, but he's not particularly strong. There's a mismatch physically there, but they just aren't in the game enough to be able to do that.
Klein doesn't slide in this time, and West Ham have the ball, but only temporarily. It's been squirted away from Ward-Prowse, slipped towards Adam Wharton. They're swarming forward when they get the chance. Crystal Palace. Son coming out on the right-hand side. They have it with Elise. He's got space to spin and turn on the point of the 18-yard box, defended by West Ham United. He's got James Ward-Prowse in close attendance. They've worked it infield. Intricate passing from Palace. Now it's Klein. Up he goes, up that right-hand side. Slipped infield this time towards Wharton. Spreads it towards the front of the centre circle, and Will Hughes in the shining sunshine in South London. Palace leading 3-0. 28 minutes played on BBC Radio London. Still Fulham against Liverpool to come later this afternoon.
Yeah, and it's the Olazer up. And listen, we've what did you say, 28 minutes in, 8 shots, 4 on target, 3 goals, 64% possession, which will creep up after this passage of play to more like 67, 68. West Ham 0-0-0 XG, 36%, 0-0-0 shots on off. They are absolutely up against it. This is about pride already. We're only 30 minutes in, and this is about restoring pride from a West Ham perspective.
Well, they're chasing shadows at the moment, though.
Can't get near it. They don't know who they're picking up. They're looking around at each other. Who's going to gamble? Who's going to risk? Who's going to get tight? And when they do, they're getting passed around. This is 2 minutes of uninterrupted passing and movement from Palace.
Yeah.
This is what you expect Man City to do to teams, not Palace v West Ham in a London derby.
Elise flicks it out wide towards the far touchline. Nunez loses the ball, picked up by Jean-Philippe Mateta. Will Hughes getting in the penalty area, driven in towards him. It's going to drop for Mitchell. He slips it square. Shot blocked. Mateta has it again on the right-hand side. Called for at the far post. Headed away, slashed clear, and then just scrambled away by West Ham United. One back by Tyrick Mitchell and Mikel Antonio, and then Mitchell has it on the halfway line. They were trying to walk it in at times, Crystal Palace. 3-0 up, and they have it again with Wharton. Yeah.
Just looking at Glasner clapping his team. There's no better feeling in a technical than watching your team completely and utterly dominate an opponent. It's very rare can you relax. But I'm telling you, you can have a little relax up at this moment in time.
Oh, here goes Elise, and he's still got the ball, and he's racing towards the edge of the penalty area. He strikes one just wide.
They're turning and losing their marker
too easily
without even trying to do it. It's just a simple, basic back foot turn and drive. And like, is that Zuma or Bonner? I think it's Ogbonna. You can't get away from a centre-half. He's not done anything really spectacular to get away from his marker there. It's just too easy.
35, Angelo Ogbonna. It's only his eighth start of the season, though, Steve. He's become one of those players that sort of depth because of his experience that he's got in the side.
It's a bit like Tompkins for Palace on the bench. It's sort of similar thing. Not really playing, experienced, can come on and fill a gap. But it just, this is what goes back to what I was saying about getting your minutes. Where do you get them if you're a first team player? 21's football just doesn't cut it.
Let's go to the Emirates where Emily Herbert is watching Arsenal against Leicester in the WSL. It's been a goal, Em.
There has. Arsenal double their lead from number 23, Alessia Russo. An excellent assist from Steph Catley, and Russo falls into the box and slots it past Kopp. Arsenal 2, Leicester City 0.
Eze again sliding it forward. Elise inside the penalty area, looking for Mateta. It's 4. Kudos stolen, had the ball stolen from him in midfield. Into Eze, slipped it towards Elise, who squares it across to Jean-Philippe Mateta, who equals Mark Wright's record. It's 4 for him in 4 at home, and it's 4 for Palace in the opening 31 minutes. Crystal Palace 4, West Ham United 0.
Absolute right there. We've just got a shot of David Moyes. I don't think you'll ever see a shot of David Moyes that perplexed. As a coach, as a manager, he looks broken. He can't believe what he's seeing, but there's a turnover again in midfield. Hughes nicks it off. I think it's Antonio. But again, the run from Elise off the shoulder is timed to perfection.
Oh, hang on.
And we're thinking there could be an offside here.
Well, they may look at this. I don't know.
Well, what I would say is if there's one player that deserves a goal in this first half hour, it's Mateta, and he won't have many easier goals than that. 6 yards out, centre of the box, no marker in front of him to beat, just the keeper, and he slides it past him. I don't think they're even checking it.
No. Well, there you go. It's not offside. It's 4-0. Crystal Palace fans can't believe this, Steve. 4 goals in 31 minutes. I mean, West Ham United in their previous 3 games at Crystal Palace had scored 3 goals themselves. Even if they get 3 in this one, they still lose. I mean, that's how damaging that opening half hour has been. It's been extraordinary.
Yeah, I think this fixture here last season ended 4-3, but one of them ended 4-3 in this manner.
No, I mean, that was a 4-3 in Palace's favour. David Moyes was livid on that occasion. You don't often see, as it's a header over the top of the bar from Angelo Bonner. I think that's their first effort for West Ham, really, Steve, and it sails into about row M of the Homestale away to our right-hand side. A David Moyes versus Roy Hodgson game, you don't expect to have 7 goals.
No.
This one, I didn't expect this. 32 minutes gone, 33 minutes gone, Palace leading 4-0 at Selhurst Park, and it could have been more.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been to games in the past where you haven't had 11 shots and 5 on target in the 90. It's looked more like 4 and 1. Yeah. And we've got 11 and 5 for Palace, and the off targets have been opportunities. They've missed the target from, areas that you'd expect him to at least test Fabianski. But yeah, this is total and utter domination. I do feel for David Moyes, and I've been heavily beaten on a pitch. It's horrible.
Oh yeah,
it's disgusting when you're out there, and like I said, they're playing for pride already.
Yeah. They have it with Emerson down the left-hand side. West Ham United attacking. Everton still 2-0 up against Nottingham Forest. Emerson gets clipped by Klein, and that will be a free kick to West Ham United. We'll go to Josh Watton, who's watching Sale against Harlequins. Josh. We won't go there, Steve. We'll go there in a moment. Elsewhere in the WSL today, by the way, Manchester United Spurs finished 2 apiece. That's a precursor to the FA Cup final in a couple of weeks' time. Man City 3-0 up against West Ham United. In the Women's Championship, Lewis 0, Crystal Palace 2, and Charlton ahead against Sunderland, 1-0 up against Sunderland.
They need it. I mean, that's prolonged the season actually in terms of going to the last game. But Charlton, they're not a million miles away. Karen Hill's done a great job there over a period of 3 years, slowly built.
Ward-Prowse on this free kick, level with the edge of the Palace penalty area. This is where danger can be created. Into the 6-yard box, up in the air it goes from Mikel Antonio, and out of play for a goal kick.
He has to score.
Yeah.
It's as you'd expect from Ward-Prowse. It's an incredible delivery. It's up and over the first man. It beats the first 2 players in the near post area, and Antonio makes first contact no more than 3 yards out, 2 yards in from Henderson's right-hand post. He's just got to hit the target, and West Ham have a goal. And somehow it's come off his sort of calf muscle and gone high and wide. It's a big miss.
Long ball forward from Mateta to chase. O'Connor nudges a header out of play, Steve, in the halfway mark of the West Ham United half. Palace have it again over on that far touchline with another throw. Daniel Munez will take it, the 27-year-old. Made his debut in that loss at Brighton, the Colombian international. It's his 11th appearance. Little back heel to Elise, leading by 4-0. Elise tries to wriggle his way down the far touchline. Palace come away with it though. Here's Hughes again. Things opening up. Slips it into Mateta. Edge of the 18-yard box. Back it goes to Hughes, and now Wharton out towards Elise. Overlapping run. Clips in across, which is headed away this time by Edson Alvarez, and Palace have a corner kick over on the right-hand side. Yeah,
shredding them open at times, and actually Eze was off the shoulder of Alvarez, who'd lost, and the ball from Elise just wasn't long enough. It just had to beat Alvarez, and he couldn't.
Corner kick. It's rolled back to the point of the penalty area. Here is Wharton, slides it into the 18-yard box. Munez tries to get away from Thomas Souček. Here is Emerson to Souček on the left-back position. His attempted ball forward cut out by Munez, and he blocks it out of play for a goal kick, which will be taken by Lucas Fabianski.
It's interesting because they worked that well, that last move, and Elise, Eze and Mateta have been delightful linking up as a front three, and he'll be annoyed that he's left that cross short.
Yeah,
because he only had Alvarez to beat, and and Eze had lost him off the shoulder.
Now the referee has called Joachim Andersen to him with Edson Alvarez. Not quite sure what he saw, Graham Scott, but he just wants to sort out Something in there. He's just having a chat actually with the fourth official. Now, are they checking something here, Steve?
Yeah, they are checking because there's a very slowed down replay at the moment. I'm not quite sure what I'm looking for, and I haven't seen anything in that clip they've just shown on the monitor, and play is going to continue.
So coming together between Edson Alvarez and Joaquim Anderson, not quite sure, nothing there. And it's gone along out from the goal kick from Fabianski to Angelo Ogbonna. Palace come away with it though. Paquetá slips, driven forward by Anderson. Maybe overly ambitious. 38 minutes played. Palace leading by 4 goals to 0. Here's Soufal's giving it away to Tyrick Mitchell, who just dabs it to Eze, who drifts infield and finds Adam Wharton, who behind him angles a pass to Nathaniel Klein. He poked it out wide towards the right-hand side. 4-0 Palace lead, heading towards half-time on BBC Radio London. Still 7 minutes plus added time to go. Wharton in the style of having his socks virtually round his ankles as it's slipped over the halfway line to Eze. Now Mitchell down the right-hand side. Soufal slides in. Richards receives in his own half.
They could literally keep possession.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 6.5 minutes plus add-ons, and if Palace don't want to risk the ball, and they have.
They've given it away this time. Hughes has gone in hard again. He's going to get booked this time, surely, Will Hughes.
Absolutely.
Catches Souček.
Again, you know, didn't need to risk that ball being played into Hughes under pressure. It's led to him being booked, which puts him on the back foot a little bit. But yeah, West Ham weren't even trying to press and win the ball back. So if you wanted to go back to Henderson and out to Klein and then back to, you could have done.
Yeah. Let's go to the Emirates. Emily Herbert, another goal.
Yeah, Arsenal 3, Leicester City 0, and it's third time lucky for Beth Mead after 2 close-range attempts from Russo was saved, and Mead can just tap it in almost on the goal line, easy. The Gunners cruising now. Arsenal 3, Leicester City 0.
5 yards in front of the centre circle. Ward-Prowse very central. Will take this free kick for West Ham United in white shirt, shorts and socks. Soufal receives it, clips it in towards the penalty area, guided into the 6-yard box, and then Antonio goes in. Dean Henderson, I'm not sure what he was doing, and West Ham United have a lifeline in this game. Headed into the path of Mikel Antonio. Dean Henderson just hesitated, Steve, and Antonio didn't need a second invite. West Ham United on the score sheet. Crystal Palace 4, West Ham United 1.
Yeah, I quite like what they did, West Ham, in terms of moving the position of the ball. Everybody thought Ward-Prowse was going to take it. He went sideways to Soufal, and that creates the angle to curl that cross to the far post for Souček to head back into a dangerous area for Antonio to finish. He missed one from a similar position just moments ago, but I'm with you. I think Dean Henderson will be kicking himself. He lacked a little bit of bravery for me there. He needed to take one in his face, and he just hesitated, and it gave Antonio that half a yard to make the connection and score. And I'm slightly disappointed if I was Henderson.
They are now checking it, Steve.
For what?
Offside.
No, it's not offside. If that's offside, we've got serious problems.
Well,
Or is it?
They are checking whether Mikel Antonio is offside, I think. So we've got a VAR check. Go on, just give him the goal.
Well,
Steve, you'd think, you know.
Yeah, but again, you know, I'll go back to what
From the angle we're looking at, it's difficult because Mikel Antonio. Oh, that's the better angle. Is the other side. Oh, hello.
No.
He's offside, Steve.
He's off. It just didn't look offside, did it?
But we were looking at it from the other angle, and they're now checking this. The cut of the grass would suggest.
Well, that angle there, you can't see the player and where the head is. He's going to get.
They're looking at it now. So back at Stockley Park.
We've got an awful angle of it, to be fair.
Yeah.
We can't give you any description here because the angle we've got is rubbish. But I'll go back to the goalkeeping. He has to do better as a goalkeeper in that circumstance. I mean, he has to be braver. He hesitated.
It was pretty weak, wasn't it? It was pretty weak.
He hesitated. You can't hesitate. You've got to smother. He had an opportunity, Henderson, to smother, and he didn't.
Onside?
It looked onside to me. Yeah. It really did. I thought it was excellent.
The referee's still talking to Mikel Antonio. Crystal Palace are marching back into their kick-off positions. The sun is shining. We haven't got a definitive decision yet inside.
And you have to get it right, however long that takes. Goal given.
Yeah, goal has been given. So West Ham United have a goal in the game, and we're heading towards half-time after a lengthy offside check. Who knows, Steve? This may not be over yet. Well, go long. Up in the air, it's headed down on the halfway line, plopped towards Tyreek Mitchell. Mitchell's going to dink it towards Eze, will be at Harlequins against Sale in a moment or two. That's a foul by Edson Alvarez, and Josh Watton can tell us how the Quins are doing.
Yeah, 40 minutes are up here. Sale just applying the pressure to the Harlequins line. It is Sale 15, Harlequins 10. Quins back in it. 2 tries from Lewis Liner on the right-hand touchline to get them back within 5 points. They've cut their 15-point deficit back down to 5 on the brink of half-time. It's looking like they've got a lifeline in this one. 41 minutes now on the clock. Sale 15, Harlequins 10.
4-1 Palace lead after what has been a crazy first half here at Selhurst Park. They've given the ball away. As here come West Ham United with a throw-in on that far touchline. Everton have beaten Nottingham Forest this afternoon 2-0. Aston Villa trailing Bournemouth by a goal to 0. Aston Villa going to extra time and penalties. Dominic Solanke from the penalty spot though, giving Bournemouth the lead in that game. And of course it's the FA Cup second semi-final, Coventry City 0-0 with Manchester United, Manchester City already into yet another final. Manchester City after their 1-0 victory against Chelsea yesterday on BBC Radio London Saturday Sport. 90 seconds to go before the break plus added time. West Ham with a throw, another goal back. Suddenly it becomes interesting again, Steve, doesn't it?
If they get one now before we see the half-time whistle, you know, they'll be disappointed. Crystal Palace, that's a set-piece routine that they've allowed to find its way into the back of the net. The question mark will be over Dean Henderson. Was he brave enough? But it does give a slight chink of light at the end of the tunnel for West Ham, but it's not much of one, and they have been thoroughly second best across the pitch in all departments.
Antonio down the left-hand side, probes it back. Ward-Prowse is going to deliver. It's a little header up in the air. Souček's trying to get there. Kudus with a shot, scrambled on the goal line. Flag's gone up.
It had to go up. I don't know why it didn't go up when the first touch was coming. It was offside. Souček was offside. It was obvious. And you're just waiting, but if you were watching that in real time, I could sense that was offside as soon as the flick on come in. There was at least one player stood in an offside position, if not 2.
4-1 Palace into the end of the first half. 30 seconds plus added time to go. Ogbonna with a header forward, and here's Chris Richards, guides it towards Eze, who scored a spectacular bicycle kick for Crystal Palace in this first half.
They've absolutely run the game, them two, haven't they?
Yeah.
Eze and Elise have been delightful.
Elise has it again. Daniel Muniz on the right-hand side, drifts infield into the penalty area. Still with it, Daniel Muniz. Now it's Eze, tricks his way forward, spins, turns, tries to get a shot away, goes back to Famianski from Souček, and it's scooped long. 7 minutes of added time at the end of this first half, Steve. We ain't getting out here till about 6 o'clock this evening at this rate.
Yeah, I thought that was the wrong decision from Eze as well. I thought he should have taken a shot on the setback. It was a wonderful setback, and he actually took a touch. And actually, when you take a touch on the edge of the box, West Ham players will come out, and they will. There's 3 or 4 players around him to make the block. I thought the first time shot was on, and he didn't take it. Crowded out.
Elise fouled, according to the referee, from Paquetá.
They are literally running the show, though.
Yeah,
they really are.
Them,
No one's taking care of them. No one's got near them. They're just running the show.
4-1 Palace. West Ham United have got themselves a goal in this game though through Mikel Antonio, his 6th of the season, his 80th for West Ham United. That's Eze, Elise, Mateta and an own goal from Emerson. It's given Palace a really, really healthy lead, and again it's Chris Richards at the far post, headed away by Zuma. It's a corner kick to Crystal Palace, this time on the left-hand side.
He's actually defended that very, very well under pressure, Zuma. It was a wicked delivery, dipping at the far post, and I thought he got caught underneath it. I thought Richards was going to beat him, and he just managed to get there first and head it out for another corner.
Adam Wharton will take the corner on the left-hand side, the 20-year-old. Came off the bench at Brighton for his debut. It's 10th start for Crystal Palace. Puts his right hand up in the air, left-footed, drives it in towards Will Hughes, back to Wharton, who drifts towards the edge of the penalty area, clips it far post, and that's headed over the top of the bar. Joachim Andersen was attacking it. Really good chance for the Palace skipper. Really, possibly, let's have a look at it. Should have got it on target, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, he's up against Antonio as a marker and he gets wrong side of him, but the problem is by getting away from him, he's on the wrong side of the ball, so he's then got to adjust his body away from goal. And as soon as you have to sort of turn away from goal and your weight shifts that way, it's extremely difficult to get your header away. He made good contact, but couldn't sadly get it on target. But a well-worked set piece, little 2v1, they manoeuvred the ball back to Wharton, good delivery again.
Paquetá puts it only onto the chest of Eze. Here's Mateta, doesn't rise up in the air, chested down by Alvarez, and then Wharton goes in to try and nick it back. It's been slipped out wide towards Emerson by James Ward-Prowse, pokes it back into his own half of the pitch for Angelo Ogbonna to receive, and then Mateta's going to close down on Fabianski's clearance, launches it long, offside flag against Kudos, free kick. Before West Ham scored, Steve, I was going to just ask you, and this wasn't prescient or anything, but if you're Palace and you're 4-0 up after 31 minutes, is there, I know you're a professional player, but is there just a moment where you just switch off a little bit?
Yeah, you absolutely get complacent. You absolutely will believe the job is done. You know, I would get the ball up to these front boys as quickly as I could, because they are terrorising.
Eze's got away from Soufal with a little nutmeg. He still has the ball on the edge of the penalty area. Will Hughes doesn't want to go in too strong. Chris Richards and Kudos battling with each other. And Mohamed Kudos loses out, but Chris Richards, the American, born in Birmingham, Alabama, Steve.
Yeah, he's having a good game today. He's brave, he's getting tight, he's making sure he challenges the first ball up. He's got a very good leader in the middle of the three in Anderson. I'd imagine he controls that back line relatively well.
Wharton scrapping for the ball. This is Anderson. Dean Henderson says, don't play it back to me. Sweeps it out wide, does Anderson towards the far touchline. Emerson for West Ham, who trail 4-1. We've played almost 4 minutes of the added 7 at the end of this first half. And then Wharton's gone in to win this. Doing really well to stay on his feet and retain possession is Lucas Paquetá, and then he concedes a throw-in.
Yeah. I'm a bit perplexed as to why Anderson didn't use Henderson there. It wasn't like he was under pressure. You could have fed him across the 6-yard box onto the sort of far right-hand corner of the 6-yard box. He wouldn't have been under pressure. He would have been able to deal with that. He elected to go sort of with a clearance right across the pitch from left to right and out for a throw-in on the far side, which was odd. Sorry, from right to left.
Muniz, Mateta with the back heel, bounces off a West Ham leg, so it'll be another throw-in to Palace, almost on the halfway line. 9 wins in 26 in the Premier League for West Ham coming into this. Lost 9, drawn 8, 7 victories in the last 20 for David Moyes' side, and they are 4-1 down in this. And here comes Tyrick Mitchell, 25 yards from goal, forced out wide by Vladimir Soufal, and Kudos manages to slip it in field, looking for Mateta, who's always on the stretch there though. And here comes Edson Alvarez, surrounded by Palace players. Has done very well initially, and then loses possession by poking it out of play under pressure for a throw into the Eagles, just inside the West Ham United half of the pitch.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't want to make excuses, because I hope David Moyes doesn't, but they do look like they're suffering physically. But I'm still going to give a lot of credit to Palace. I think they've been excellent.
Elise chips it forward, looking for Eze, just on the edge of the West Ham penalty area. Hughes going scrambling for the ball. He's forced.
He's having a real tough day, Soufal. It's one of the worst performances I've ever seen him have, and I like him. I think he's a good player. But today is not his day. He's had the delivery that's led to the only goal, you know, as a decent cross. But in terms of receiving in possession in his own half, he's been caught in possession half a dozen times.
Here's Wharton, slipped into his path by Klein. Nathaniel Klein playing his 201st start for Crystal Palace in his 2 spells, and then it's chipped towards Tyrick Mitchell.
I really like Wharton. I think he's I think he's going to be a wonderful player for Palace. Young, he's composed, he's got good energy.
Everyone was looking at him, weren't they?
Yeah, listen, I think he's a great signing. You know, you look at Elise, Eze, Wharton, you know, they're good ages. Develop them and they...
Gurhey, Anderson.
Yeah.
Mitchell. Players who have come through the ranks at Palace, as well as obviously have been brought in as young players. Eze was brought in as a young player. Elise brought in as a young player. Wharton this time penalised by Graham Scott, the referee. And then, whoops, I think that's a bit of frustration from Vladimir Coufal as well, spilling out. Crystal Palace players being marched away. Tyrick Mitchell was involved. Free kicks being given. Graham Scott wants to sort this out. And so he calls the various parties together, in particular Kurt Zouma and Tyrick Mitchell, and I think both of them are going to get a yellow card, Steve.
Yeah, and it was unnecessary, I think.
Was it Souček? No, it's Souček. I think he's getting the yellow card for getting involved, so a little bit silly. At the end of the first half, you really don't need that, do you?
No, and we are. That should be the whistle, and completely unnecessary bookings for the pair of them.
Well, the ball was there, and then they both had a little bit of a tug and a tussle. I'm not sure it's a yellow card, really, Steve. I think it's
standard, though, isn't it, Phil?
Referee trying to assert control.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
We've played the 7 minutes of added time at the end of this first half. The first half which saw Palace take a 4-0 lead after 31.5 minutes. West Ham United have got a goal back. They're trying to get a second one as it's battered away by Joachim Andersen on the edge of his own 18-yard box. And Crystal Palace will head for the tunnel with a huge advantage at the break. Elise, Eze, Mateta, and an own goal from Emerson. Mikel Antonio pulled one back for West Ham United before the break. To be fair, Palace could have had more. They've had some really good opportunities. David Moyes, a penny for his thought as he marches down towards the tunnel away to our right-hand side. That was not, I mean, the opening 35 minutes was probably one of the worst 35 minutes he's probably seen and marshalled as a manager at West Ham United. Palace were purring, and West Ham United were in danger of the game just getting worse and worse. They have at least pulled themselves back into the game, but Crystal Palace have looked very dangerous in that first 45 or 52 minutes. Half-time at Selhurst Park. It's Crystal Palace 4, West Ham United 1.
BBC Radio London.
Steve Brown. I mean, Oliver Glasner hasn't really seen his side score multiple goals that often. He would have been sitting there in the first 35 minutes going, oh, it's easy, this Premier League lot, because they were just so dominant, Palace. Yeah. It was 4, and we're not lying when we said it could have been more. 6.
No. Look, it was aided and abetted by a really poor West Ham performance, but you've still got to create and you've still got to convert. It was the ease in which they were creating and converting. That was the issue. I mean, you've got to have some pride. That back line got terrorised by Eze, Elise and Mateta, and they deserved to be 4-0 down. The midfield contributed very little to that game defensively. Antonio was dropping so deep that when he won the ball, you know, it was easy to get around him and nick it off him, and they just couldn't get going. But I'm going to give a lot of credit to Palace. They outworked, they outfought in every department to get on top of that game, and I agree. It could have been 5, 6 or 7. We're not exaggerating there. It was that one-sided. I think the annoyance, certainly from my perspective as a defender, would be if I'm in the Palace team, I would not have wanted to have conceded a goal. And I am going to look at Dean Henderson. I think he lacked a little bit of bravery. It's almost like he turned away from, you know, most goalkeepers go to feet there and they smother that, and he backed away from it, and that allowed Antonio to score. I'd be a little bit annoyed about that. But let's look at Palace as an attacking side. They were absolutely different class. That midfield box has caused West Ham all kinds of problems, and they didn't know who was responsible in terms of who they were supposed to get tight to and mark and try and nick off in the opposition side. So that allowed Palace to control possession, and it was so easy to pass and play through West Ham. It's the best 35 minutes I think I've ever seen here. At Selhurst Park, and I say that as a Charlton player. It was outstanding.
It was outstanding. Yeah, it was outstanding. They've set themselves a standard now at Palace, and that performance, and of course aided, as you say, aided and abetted by what can only be described as just a complete and utter lacklustre, uncharacteristic West Ham United showing in those early moments. All over at the Emirates, I believe. Arsenal against Leicester in the WSL. Emily Herbert.
It is full time as Arsenal 3, Leicester City 0. Arsenal take all 3 points, beating Leicester City. Beth Mead taps in the first, Alessia Russo slots in the second, and a team effort for the third. 2 attempts from Russo saved the ball perfectly for Beth Mead, just to dink into the back of the net. So Arsenal securing Champions League football for next season, and 5 games without a win for the Foxes. Full-time, Arsenal 3, Leicester City 0.
Yeah, big scoreline, Emily. Thank you very much indeed. Aston Villa equalised before the break against Bournemouth, 1 apiece. Rogers with the equaliser. Solanke had given Bournemouth the lead in that game. Everton 2, Nottingham Forest 0. Forest just a point above Luton, but you do wonder whether Luton are running out of steam. Back-to-back 5-1 defeats for Rob Edwards' side in the last 2 weeks. Blackburn Rovers 1, Sheffield Wednesday 3 in the Championship, so Sheffield Wednesday climbing out of the bottom 3. Elsewhere in the WSL today, Manchester United 2-2 with Tottenham, and Manchester City women 3, West Ham United women 0, and that's significant really. Emma Hayes' side are watching that, Chelsea, because of goal difference when it comes to the title, so that still could be important. Talking of the title, Crystal Palace 2-0 up against Lewis, heading towards a victory in the Women's Championship, and Charlton heading towards a win at Sunderland. 1-0 they lead at the moment. Southampton have beaten London City Lionesses by 3-1, and Birmingham 1-0 up against Sheffield United. Half-time at the Rugby, Sale against Harlequins. Josh Watt.
Yeah, Sale 22, Harlequins 10. A really entertaining first half here. The home side stormed to a 15-point lead. 2 tries, one from Ben Curry and the other from Sam Dugdale, before a George Ford penalty made it 15-0. However, Harlequins did hit back a quick-fire double from Lewis Liner to get the score back to 15-10. However, right on the brink of half-time, Aaron Reid crossed on the right-hand touchline. The extras were added by George Ford as well. So Harlequins have a lot of work to do in the second half. After the first 40 minutes here at the Salford Community Stadium, it's Sale Sharks 22, Harlequins 10.
What was your prediction for that game, Steve? You said Harlequins, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I know.
But if there is a team that can start turning it on and putting it on, it would be Harlequins in that second half. It's only a couple of scores that they are deficient in, back-to-back scores, and we've seen it. It's been done before by Harlequins, famously, of course, in that semi-final against Bristol. What, Steve?
No, they just keep letting me down, Harlequins.
Yeah, they do.
Over and over.
We'll have a word with Billy Millard and we'll tell him that you're not happy at all, Steve Brown. Does get let down by Harlequins.
By Harlequins.
That's going to be your new mantra. Half an hour away from kick-off at Craven Cottage. It's Fulham against Liverpool upcoming. Another interesting game to come. Emma Jones is going to be watching this alongside Bradley Allen. Afternoon, Emma.
Hello, yes. Jurgen Klopp saying he's going to be throwing everything at the Premier League after they were knocked out of the Europa League in midweek, and with Fulham also to play Manchester City before the end of the season, they will have some influence on the title race. Not that Marco Silva cares about that. He says he will prepare for every game between now and the end of the season in exactly the same way, and they've not got a bad record against Liverpool here at Craven Cottage. Liverpool haven't won here since 2019. As far as the team news is concerned, just one change for Fulham from the side that beat West Ham last weekend. Bobby De Cordova-Reid replaces Willian, who isn't in the squad at all, and De Cordova-Reid is actually the captain today. There are slightly more changes to the Liverpool side that lost to Palace last weekend, of course, at Anfield. That big win for the Eagles. And, well, Mo Salah, who started that day and started in Italy and scored the penalty in the win in the second leg, is only on the bench today. Suggestions that he's been somewhat disappointing recently. Darwin Núñez also dropped to the bench. A start for Trent Alexander-Arnold, who came back in midweek in Italy as one of the 5 changes made by Jurgen Klopp from the last league game that they played.
Is Bradley with you?
He is.
Afternoon, Bradley.
Hi, Phil.
Fulham, I mean, I don't know, Fulham might fancy this. Not quite sure what we can expect from Liverpool today. They're going to be smarting after getting knocked out of Europe. Certainly smarting having lost to Crystal Palace. But Fulham, that was a good performance last week against West Ham.
Yeah, I think Fulham have shown on a good few of occasions, especially here at Craven Cottage this season, that they can play with confidence, good football. There's a nice depth to the squad. And Marco Silva has done more than a steady job, Phil. I think it's a game that they can win, although Liverpool look quite relaxed off the back of being knocked out of the Europa League on Thursday out in Italy against Atalanta. I think they know they've got to win. They'll go for it. I expect goals. Bit chilly down here on the banks of the Thames, but I'm expecting a really exciting football match. Can't wait for it, Phil.
Yeah, it should be good, shouldn't it? I mean, what's Fulham's objectives now, to the pair of you, really, for this season? Finish as strongly as you can, take some momentum into next year?
Very much so, I think. You know, I was speaking to a couple of people in the press room just before the game, and I think what he's managed to do, Marco Silva, with maybe a few errors of judgment and mistakes along the way, you know, previously at Hull and Everton, to name a couple of clubs that he's been at, he's got more calls right than wrong since he's been here at Fulham, hasn't he, Phil? And I think he will be supported in the transfer window. We've got the amazing new stand across the opposite side of the ground with the swimming pool and the Emma Jones suite. That looks spectacular. Yeah, it's the setting's great, and Fulham as a football club are in a beautiful part of West London. They're a picture of health at the moment, and I think Marco Silva will get back.
Yeah, but they're not going to have the money that other clubs have. I mean, I asked Marco Silva this about West Ham the other week, and I said, do you think Fulham should be doing what West Ham are doing, which is getting into Europe season after season? And he said, we don't have their money. We're not going to be spending £50 million on a Brazilian midfielder. We don't have that money. And he keeps repeating that because I think the expectations are on Fulham to succeed, and they're impressed with people are impressed by what they're seeing from Marco Silva, but it is not with the budget that other clubs have got.
No, and that's the thing. And I think maybe, actually, I'm going to bring Steve Brown into this as well with the pair of you. It's what we were discussing a little bit in the press room here about why there is pressure on David Moyes. Because West Ham United do have a stadium of 50 to 60,000. They are up there with the Tottenhams and the Arsenals and the Newcastles of this world when it comes to match day revenue, potentially, with people coming in. And that does lift your expectations. Palace don't have that because this is a crowd of this is a stadium of 26,000. Fulham, you know, mid-20s up to 30,000. Brentford 17,000. The expectation grows with the fact that you've got more people coming to watch your games.
Yeah, I can't argue against that, can you? They've got much more money to spend, and they do spend. They did bring in a rather large amount for Rice, you know. So I always argue always argue net spend, but they, you know, with revenue coming in from that stadium, yes, they have got more money to spend. I think what Marco Silva's done at Fulham, you know, you tip your cap. They lost Mitrovic, you know, which was a major goal scorer for them, and we all thought, that could be real trouble, and they bounced back and scored 40-odd goals this year, and they're comfortably going to stay in the Premier League. That is his remit, no? You know, I don't think anybody can argue against what he's done. They outplayed West Ham last week. After 10 minutes of the game, when it had settled down and West Ham should have taken the lead, they didn't. Fulham outplayed West Ham. You know, Marco Silva has done a fantastic job. But they have a certain way that they have to do business. They don't have the finances, as a lot of the clubs in the bottom half of the league, you know, don't have.
And Bradley and Emma, that's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes supporters' expectations start every time you stay in the Premier League, or you've got to manage those expectations, really.
You have, but I think Steve has touched brilliantly on a point. Marco Silva's improved players, and maybe that's the disappointment amongst some West Ham fans. You know, he's got them to this level, and I've mentioned it quite a few occasions on BBC Radio London this season. There are some fine potential young players there at West Ham, and they want to see them being given a chance. He's been reluctant. I'm not saying behind the scenes he might not be working and developing on them, but it appears here Marco Silva has done that just a little bit more.
And I think maybe what Roy Hodgson did, I know it feels like a long time ago for a few people, but, you know, Fulham have been in Europe in the not-so-distant past. So, and last season, you know, Fulham kind of toyed with maybe finishing in those places. So I think it's kind of being almost there. You know, getting to, you know, they played Liverpool in the League Cup semi-final this season. Fulham did better in the League Cup than they've ever done before, so there are steps that are being taken, but it will not be with a lot of money being spent on players.
No, that's a very good point. Well, it will be fascinating to see, because Jurgen Klopp needs this as well. It's the final point, again, to the pair of you, that Jurgen Klopp needs this. You know, Arsenal going back to the top of the table yesterday. Liverpool 3 points off Arsenal, who've got a 10-goal swing in their favour, goal difference-wise as well. So Liverpool need this. They have to, if they're going to stay in the race for the title in the Klopp farewell tour. This is a game they're going to be expected to win.
They've got to win this. Make no mistake. Otherwise, I think it's a two-horse race, Phil. And you know, with Spurs, Arsenal on the horizon, and Spurs to still play Manchester City, rearranged fixture at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and with Villa currently drawing, you know, they're going to be a player potentially in the outcome of where the title will end up come the end of May.
Absolutely, it's going to be fascinating. Off and underway on the BBC Sport website very soon. Fulham against Liverpool will be there very soon, as well as Crystal Palace emerge for the start of the second half here. Emma Jones and Bradley Allen will be a commentary team at Craven Cottage. West Ham have been out for a little while, and they're making a double change, Bradley Allen, and it is going to be Ben Johnson and Aaron Cresswell on. Cresswell will come on. Just trying to see actually who they're coming on for, because
Ogbonna and Souček.
Right, yeah, Ogbonna and Souček. So
Souček pulled a member of staff at the end of that first half. As the players were going down a tunnel, he wandered over here to just below us and pulled a member of staff, and obviously indicating he was suffering with some kind of ailment or injury or illness. But he's gone off. You know, Emerson's still on, Soufal's still on, so
we'll see.
Is it a back three with Johnson and Cresswell in it? And Soufal and Emerson as wing-backs?
Emerson wing-backs, possibly. We'll have to wait and see. Johnson's definitely come on to go into certainly a defensive position, and Cresswell likewise. They may try and match up. 4-1 Crystal Palace, about to get off and underway. Only the bottom three now have conceded more goals than West Ham United this season.
Yeah,
Steve Brown.
Yeah, slotted into a back three. Cresswell left of it, Zouma down the centre, Johnson to the right of it. You've got Soufal and Emerson as wing-backs. Had to do something, need a reaction. Even if they up the tempo and work rate and show a bit of fight and a bit of passion to try and get something.
Emerson up the left-hand side, 62 goals conceded for West Ham, headed into the Palace penalty area by Soufal, straight down the throat of Dean Henderson. Palace then with Henderson in goal, Klein, Anderson and Richards their back three, Muniz, Hughes, Wharton and Mitchell in midfield, Elise, Eze supporting Jean-Philippe Mateta up top. West Ham, Fabianski in goal, now a back three of Johnson, Zouma and Cresswell. As you said, it will be Soufal and Emerson wide. Edson Alvarez, James Ward-Prowse, Mohamed Goutas, Lucas Paquetá and Mikel Antonio, who sweeps it towards the far touchline. Here goes Kudus trying to race in behind Crystal Palace. A little bit wayward. Palace sweep it clear through Nathaniel Klein and towards the halfway line. It is cleared by Palace, who win a throw-in as well.
Yeah, it started, you know, in terms of you expected a reaction. We've seen the two substitutions. The tempo is better. They are trying to be a little bit more physical, West Ham. But you've got to give this game 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes to settle down before one team starts to take control again.
Klein in midfield, loses out, Ward-Prowse dabs it forward, Klein wins it back, it lofts up in the air, and Eze's going to challenge with Johnson over on that far touchline. That's come off Eze last, scorer of a spectacular bicycle kick, 8 yards out. West Ham United trying to get some urgency off the bench as well. Billy McKinley barking out some instructions. Slip forward to Kudus, who touches it out wide towards the right-hand side. Here they go. Hughes in midfield, battling with Edson Alvarez, and West Ham United trying to get some control in this game. 4-1 down after that first half. Well, the first 32 minutes, which was just blocked them back on their heels, didn't it?
Yeah, just blasted West Ham out of contention, really. But Will Hughes just went for a little tug on Alvarez there, and had to just pull away because he's on that booking.
Yeah, he is. Here come Palace though, meantime. It's Solise round the corner to Mateta, driving at the edge of the penalty area. He's going to drive it into that 18-yard box, swept away by Edson Alvarez. He had Eze making a run beyond him, did Jean-Philippe Mateta, and instead it's Ben Johnson who now puts it up the touchline with Chris Richards sliding in to steer it clear of Vladimir Coufal, the 31-year-old, 150th appearance for West Ham United today for Coufal, and it will be a throw-in on that right-hand side he'll take in front of the Arthur Waite. 4-1 Palace lead.
Yeah, been nice and aggressive today, Richards.
Yeah.
Been physical, fair but physical. Coufal, the latest player to feel the wrath, but I thought Mateta should have taken a shot. 22 yards out, tried to lay a player in that was being heavily...
Will Hughes caught in possession. Wharton now tries to drag back on Kudos, who carries it towards the edge of the Palace penalty area. Here's Emerson on the left-hand side, lifts in across straight at Dean Henderson, who plucks it out of the air. Ripple of applause for that. The Hammers fans, though, get a little bit of heart out of that. 4-1. Their team trail at this moment in time, Steve, but this game could go anywhere still. You just don't know, do you? Anderson is going to go long over the top from Mateta to race on with Zuma, who heads it clear into the centre circle. And Cresswell slams it forward towards Paquetá. Steve Brown's with us.
Yeah, I just think you've got to settle down and take whatever West Ham fright you for 10 minutes.
Paquetá has the ball stolen away from him. Here's Munoz. Mateta's inside the penalty area. Eze instead, saved by Fabianski. Corner kick. Should have been a fifth.
Should have scored. Yeah, it's a turnover again, and they look so good on the turnover. There seems to be an awful amount of space for Crystal Palace to counter-attack into on the turnover. I don't think Eze did a lot wrong. He composed himself by taking a touch when the ball come across to him, but I think he tried to be too nice with the finish.
Yeah.
Wrap your foot right through the back of the ball, drive it into the top of the net, and it would have been 5-1 Palace.
Eze will take the corner kick on this right-hand side. The Greenwich-born 25-year-old. Lots of people at Greenwich early this morning, Steve, for the London Marathon. Congratulations to everyone who finished. It's a corner kick swept in, looking for Richards. Kudos is going to run it back into his own 18-yard box. Caught in possession. Munoz can't get it away from Cresswell, who has to batter it clear over the halfway line. And then Anderson and Klein work it between them. Anderson dabs it up the touchline. He's giving it away, though, towards Emerson. It was a little bit hurried, a little bit forced, and then that's not the best of balls from Edson Alvarez. Straight through to Dean Henderson.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he saw there. Coufal was driving him off, the right-hand side. He'd gone advanced as a wing-back and was cutting across Richards, the left-sided centre-half. I mean, that ball's 15 yards out from being anywhere near in the area where it was required to be for Coufal to make contact. But yeah, I just think if Crystal Palace can weather the 15-minute storm that naturally sort of happens when a team gets heavily beaten in the first 45 minutes, the game will settle down into a pattern again. West Ham will lose heart and Crystal Palace will take control again. But as we've seen, there are still good moments for Palace if they can pressurise and win the ball in that midfield area.
Paquetá goes to ground. Referee didn't see anything wrong with the challenge between him and Wharton.
Yeah, it goes back to what I said.
I'm not sure.
In the first half, where players' reactions were good. Hughes just jumped up. Paquetá just jumped up. Referees can be absolutely conned and fooled by players overreacting to soft challenges.
Well, the ball was put out of play for a throw-in because Paquetá needed some treatment, and they've got it back, Palace, with their goalkeeper Dean Henderson. Sprays it up the touchline. It's out of play for a West Ham United throw. Coventry City 0, Manchester United 1, by the way. Scott McTominay with the goal. So it looks like it could be an all-Manchester final again. Oh, goody, Steve.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, not so far for the Man United fans to travel again, Steve, up from Surrey.
Stop it.
What?
Stop
I
it.
bet your train home's going to be absolutely packed with United fans.
We're Liverpool down my way.
Oh, is that how it is it? Here, West Ham United have it in the sunshine now in South London. It's been in and out. It's still chilly, though, as it goes all the way back to Kurt Zouma, closed down by Michael Olise, and West Ham United work it to their goalkeeper, the 39-year-old Polish international, Łukasz Fabianski. Whips it to the left. Cresswell's going to look to tease this further forward down that touchline. Klein just watches it bounce out of play for a Palace throw.
Yeah, I think, look, gone from back to front very quickly there, West Ham. The problem with that is if they go from back to front and the first contact is made by one of the back three for Palace, they'll nod it down to Wharton or Hughes, and there'll be these huge gaps developing in the centre of the pitch. It's tough for West Ham because you can't back off. You can't, you know, they didn't lay a glove on Palace for 35 minutes, and you can't back off. And if you go long, your midfield can't compete with the numerical disadvantage they've got in there.
Harry Maguire's just made it 2-0 to Manchester United, so it definitely looks as if it's heading that way, as it's headed away by Tyrick Mitchell for Palace. Now it's Chris Richards, finds Mitchell, sprays it forward over the halfway line. Here is Eze, who just before was a bit languid for me with Mateta. As Palace won the ball, Mateta rolled it to Eze. I thought Eze could have turned and gone with it, and he tried a little tricksy little ball back in field towards his strike partner, and then Muniz is putting Cresswell under pressure deep inside the West Ham left-back position. They forced a throw in, and Klein wants to take it quickly. Daniel Muniz says, slow it down, I'll take it. They're 4-1 up, 53 and a bit minutes played.
Yeah, but that's exactly what you want to see if you're Glasner. You know, this is 4-1, you can become complacent. You were just talking about Elise, you know, perhaps not being as sharp as he was in the first 45 minutes, taking things a little bit easy when he could stay on it. And that pressure will please Glasner no end, because it was very, in terms of Muniz starting it, it was backed up well.
20th start of the season for Fabianski, who whips this clear. Here's Will Hughes in midfield. Wharton's picked up inside the centre circle, looks for options, finds Chris Richards diagonally behind him. It's out wide towards Tyrick Mitchell. He's going to be forced backwards, Mitchell, and he loses possession with pressure from Soufal, but then he's tried to tackle back as Mitchell, and that's good skill, some kudos, and then Mitchell goes flying in with Edson Alvarez, whipped away by Hughes towards Eze. He clips it towards the halfway line. Elise and Mateta there. Jean-Philippe Mateta, ball juggles, manages to wriggle away from a couple of challenges, slides it square to Nathaniel Klein. Elise on the right-hand side, it's Muniz again, 55 minutes almost gone, and Crystal Palace leading by 4-1, and then Elise pops up in a central position again between the lines, a couple of little step overs, going to slide it into Eze, receives it back now, Elise, the former Reading player, still with it, drifts away from Edson Alvarez, darts towards the edge of the penalty area, finds Mitchell. This is probably Palace reasserting control in the game still.
Yeah, and you don't mind them going back to the halfway line and keeping possession because you're just trying to make West Ham work and stretch. But there's a lot of work to do for Paquetá, Ward, Prowse and Alvarez in that midfield. They're covering, you know, 4 players off, and it's very difficult for them. When one of them goes tight, there's always a spare player to find if you're Crystal Palace, and that's why they've been able to manoeuvre the ball so easily. I do think there was a moment there where that ball found Mateta. There was a little soft first-time touch in the path of Elise, and that would have been a brilliant ball to play for the counter, and he took a touch, then an extra touch, and that allowed West Ham to get behind the ball. But yeah, we're looking at a much different second 45, as we thought we would be. You know, West Ham were going to come out and up the tempo and at least show a little bit of aggression towards their
and also
their
if
opponent.
You're Palace as well, you're 4-1 up. It's
you can drift off, and I wonder sometimes, Phil, if you're 4-1 up, you look at your bench and think, right,
who can I?
Can I make some changes now at 4-1 so that the ones coming on want to prove me a point?
Well, you know, you've got
Ayew's the one. Schlupp could come on. Yeah, Schlupp. Yeah, and go, do you know what, you guys have got us to 4-1, well done. But then the problem you have with that is if you go 4-2. You know, so it's a delicate balance, but you know what you don't want is for the second 45 to peter out if you're Crystal Palace. They were so good first.
Yeah, 45. They were. 56 played. It's Hughes is on a yellow card as well, but and the way that he plays, Steve, he's on that tightrope, isn't he? You know, he's
Hughes. Listen, Alvarez got away from him earlier, and he literally put his hand out on his shirt, and then just, he was just about to give him a little tug, and he knew he had to back out of it. Yeah, and
Villa now 2-1 up against Bournemouth. Not good news for Spurs, that one. Diaby and Rodgers with the goals for Aston Villa. Munoz picks it out of the air. Wharton goes and wins it back. He nudged it out a play on this near touchline. Remember Ian Ramsdale used to work for us, Steve? Looks a little bit like a young Ian Ramsdale, Adam Wharton. Of course, he's in charge of BBC Radio Soul prevalent these days. Also had the spitting image of the former Jean-Alain Sand, the former head of Eurovision, Steve, as you well know.
Of course I would, yeah.
That's upcoming in a couple of weeks' time, Steve. I know you're getting busy in your household with all
Mrs.
the European
Brown
flags.
likes a bit of Eurovision. She sits there all night with her glass of gin and tonic.
You do as well. I've talked to you.
Yeah, no, I do.
know you do.
I do. But you've done that. You've infused that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Britain aren't going to win this year, mate, by the way. Ollie Alexander is not going to win. I'm not sure West Ham are going to win this, but they're trying to at least get themselves back into this game. They've got a throw in on the far touchline, trailing by 4-1. Watkins with the assist for Diaby for the go-ahead goal for Aston Villa this afternoon. Those game for Spurs, of course. They were due to play Manchester City. That's been scheduled for the last week of the season. Spurs with 2 games in hand, but are now 6 points as it stands behind Aston Villa in the race for 4th spot, as Emerson now has it. It's possession taken away by Wharton, who's gone down holding his knee. Adam Wharton, he's still down for Crystal Palace, who continue to stray forward. In fact, Emerson and Wharton both down, Steve, so the referee has brought the game to a temporary halt. A knee-on-knee clash, I think that was.
Yeah, and I've experienced that. It's horrible and it hurts, and they're right to stop the game and get the attention. But when that ball popped out from that challenge where Emerson and Wharton collided, Anderson popped onto it. First thought, 30-40 yard side foot pass up to Mateta, and he is alert. He's in front of the centre halves of West Ham, and he takes that first touch. That makes a huge difference. And if you flip that, when West Ham have tried to go long, the centre halves of Crystal Palace have nicked in front, and therefore that gives them control of when the centre halves pop it out midfield. The 2 City midfielders win it. When Mateta keeps it, you've got Eze and Elise in great position to receive, and that's generally why they're on top today.
What did I tell you about Quinn, Steve?
Yeah, look,
I said they can come back, right? Sale 25,
yeah.
Quinn's 24. They've scored 2 converted tries. They're back in it, Steve. They're back in it.
Momentum's like in rugby. It can switch quite quickly.
And they're a very, very good team.
Absolutely. I did listen. I may have called this one right at last. Harlequins might not let me down just yet.
Let's find out what's happened with Josh Wharton.
Well, maybe hold that thought. It's now Sale Sharks 30, Harlequins 24. Quick fire response from the home side. It's been a really good second half. Caden Murley got Harlequins back in it with a try. Ben Bamber has been sent to the sin bin for Sale, so they've scored that one while being down to 14. Oscar Beard got Quins right back into it, crashing over just to the right of the sticks. It looked for all the world that Harlequins were going to go on and get in front in this one. However, straight from the kick-off, Sale back in front, crashing over again just to the right of the post. They are just taking the kick as we look at it, but it's been a topsy-turvy game in this one. It's not over yet, but as it is, it's Sale 30, Harlequins 24.
Nottingham Forest beaten by Everton. Forest having 3 penalty decisions turned down. They've issued another statement on X of Nottingham Forest. Not the first time they've done this. They've had a referee as their referee's analyst. They've started employing a referee, haven't they? This year, Nottingham Forest, they've issued a strongly worded statement criticising 3 extremely poor decisions, they say, and the appointment of Stuart Atwell as a video assistant referee for the game. BBC Sport, I can tell you, is contacting the professional game management officials in regards to it as well. Everton broke the deadlock as Wharton comes off, and he's going to be replaced. I don't think he's not going to be able to continue, but you've liked what you've seen, Steve.
Yeah, I have, and it's not the first time I've liked what he's about. I think he's a very intelligent football player. I think he uses the ball very, very well. If you go back to that goal that was created in the first half, he was the architect of the start of that by driving past his opponent with a great first touch and then a wonderful pass down the side of the defence. I think he's going to. I think he's a wonderful prospect, and I think it's a really good piece of recruitment from Crystal Palace.
Palace down the left-hand side, looking to advance into the penalty area. Eze takes it wide of Ben Johnson, slips it infield. And the substitute, maybe not up to the speed of the game, is Ahamada. Loses possession, and it's allowed Kudus to burst down the right-hand side for West Ham United into the Palace penalty area. Steps back, left-footed driven shot, deflected away. Kudus goes to retrieve it under pressure from Tyrick Mitchell, and Ward-Prowse pushes it out wide towards Kudus, and on the halfway line West Ham United have it again with Ben Johnson. Here is Kurt Zouma. 61, almost 62 minutes played. 3 extremely poor decisions, 3 penalties not given. This is from Nottingham Forest, by the way, which we simply cannot accept. That's what they've said. Our patience has been tested multiple times.
If you simply can't accept
Fabianski.
What do you do if you simply can't accept it?
West Ham have given it away. Here's Mateta, back heel, Elise, edge of the West Ham penalty area.
That's
again,
what you're on
possession.
about. That's what you're on about.
Yeah.
He's not as sharp as he was.
No.
He is one that's relaxed down, thinking the job's done. And yeah, that's an example of what you were talking about earlier.
It's also only his 10th start of the season, Elise. So you know it's. Anyway.
But this does happen. It's not meant, it's not intentional, but you feel like the job's done, so you're not quite as sharp because you just relax down a little bit. He was electric in the first 45 minutes, and he has just stepped off of it
a little bit.
Yeah.
You do wonder whether an Ayew coming on to give a bit of energy.
That's what I mean about making the changes. You bring on somebody and you ask him to go and prove himself. He's been left out,
losing out to Alvarez, but that's going to be Mitchell. Oh, it's blocked away from him. Oh, he skips away from Sufelt. Tyrick Mitchell did really well, finds Will Hughes. 63 minutes on the clock, 4-1 to Crystal Palace. They've played it out well. Hughes gallops towards the halfway line, still with it, slips it infield towards Eze. Eze's got Elise with him, bursts away from Ward-Prowse, still with it, tries to take Zouma one way then the other, pokes it into Mateta! 5-1! Brilliant from Eberechi Eze. Super finish from Mateta, but that's all about the former QPR man who just drove to the edge of the penalty area, sold Kurt Zouma, rolled it into Jean-Philippe Mateta, who rattles home a second goal of the game for him, sends the home sale onto their feet and makes it Crystal Palace 5, West Ham United 1.
And you're absolutely right about Eze and Mateta, but I want to draw that back to the
Will Hughes.
Yeah, that is exquisite midfield play. He has driven the ball by dribbling 20 yards up the left-hand side, and he is waiting for support on the inside channel whilst keeping the ball away from his opponent. The ball he plays inside means that Palace can go on and score this goal, but once the ball arrives at Eze's feet, he just twists, he turns, he commits and draws bodies to him, and that allows the centre-forward Mateta to be free. He finds him with a bit of luck through the legs of his opponent, but after that it's a great first touch on the back foot and a brilliant finish low beyond Fabianski. Game done and dusted.
David Moyes settles back into his dugout, folds his arms, leans against it as it goes back to Fabianski inside his 18-yard box from the kickoff. Launches it long over the halfway line. Crystal Palace have possession again. Ahamada to Elise. Crystal Palace fans in good voice here in South London. Ahamada, oh dear, catches James Ward-Prowse. I think he's unlucky because he slips.
I agree.
The referee's reaching into his pocket. He's going to produce a yellow card, but there's no intent there. He literally slips, doesn't he, Armada? He's not quite got up to the speed of the game, to be fair.
It's a horrible second touch. His first touch is tight. The second one goes 3 yards in front. He only wanted it to go a yard in front.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't even actually make a challenge. He just goes to side foot the ball. But as he goes to do that, his back leg gives way and it goes into the shins of Ward-Prowse. It does look naughty. It probably has to be a yellow card, but it certainly wasn't a red. But yeah, he's struggled, hasn't he, in terms of the pace of the game?
Yeah, he has since coming on.
It's not easy to do, Phil, when your team's buzzing and it's playing at a high tempo and you've sat there and you've watched your team destroy the opposition and you're just not up to the speed of the game.
It was 1 win in 12 London derbies coming into this for Crystal Palace. 5-1 up in this one. Arsenal put 6 against West Ham, but that was at London Stadium, Steve, and that was a damaging scoreline. There's a nudge forward with the arm of Emerson, leads to a free kick to Crystal Palace, but 4 conceded away from home at Newcastle, when West Ham were 3-1 up in that game as well, remember, at Newcastle. This one equally, I mean, it's just off the back of Europe. It's been a really tough week for West Ham in many respects. Beaten by Fulham, drawing with Bayer Leverkusen, but going out on 3-1 aggregate, and losing here 5-1, and Palace are going to make a couple of changes, and Ayew and Edouard waiting to come on.
If you're Mateta, you do not want to come off.
Oh no, he's on a hat-trick, Steve.
Absolutely, but you know, does that mean they're yeah, we'll see.
Palace have possession with Will Hughes, or almost finds Jean-Philippe Mateta. Will Hughes comes scrambling across as West Ham have the ball with Paquetá, and that's beyond Emerson and out of play for a goal kick. And here come the changes now. Board's going to go up. Odsonne Edouard is on the sidelines, and Jean-Philippe Mateta doesn't want to come off, but Michael Olise does come off to be replaced by Ayew. Maybe not a surprise, just working his way back to full fitness. Michael Olise, first start since being injured at Brighton last week at Liverpool. The board will also go up to say that it is Jean-Philippe Mateta being replaced by Odsonne Edouard, and the fans are loving him at the moment. He has been in a rich goal-scoring frame of mind, Jean-Philippe Mateta. Maybe at last showing why they brought him in.
I think he's been outstanding today. I don't think he'll have many easier days physically.
True.
The West Ham centre-halves got nowhere near him, and when they did, they were very tame. But you could only, you know, he's still got to produce. I think I'd be a little bit miffed if I was on a hat-trick.
Yeah.
You know, because there is another goal in this game, I think, for Crystal Palace, the way that West Ham are defending.
Well, the way they're defending, and they've given the ball away to Eze, couldn't quite get up the touchline. Ben Johnson's able to scoop it away. It's a throw-in on that far touchline. We've got 21.5 minutes to go. Palace leading 5-1 at Selhurst Park this afternoon in the London derby against West Ham United, and Hughes comes up the ball again, and he nibbles it infield towards Jordan Ayew, slides it forward towards Odsonne Edouard, and it's hacked away by Fabianski. Here's Paquetá, but again surrounded by red and blue shirts, and it rolls towards Klein, slips it out wide to Jordan Ayew. Back it comes to Klein again. Ayew won't receive on the right-hand side. Muniz with the ball, tried to filter it into his path. And Billy McKinley and David Moyes have a word on the sidelines.
Yeah, listen, as much as I love the tempo and work rate that Ayew produces for this Crystal Palace team, he's not a creator like Olise is, and straight away he's almost down in the right back spot receiving. You know, Olise doesn't drop into there, he drops into the it's an inside channel pickup. He picks up 10 or 15 yards inside the pitch, just off the striker, and Ayew's already 15-20 yards deeper than that. You want to, you know, you're 5-1 up, go and get yourself, be threatening, go get yourself a goal, stay higher up the pitch.
Well, it's equalled at the moment, that big 5-1 victory against Leeds at the back end of last season for Crystal Palace, or towards the back end of last season. Was it April time? Just over a year ago, the 9th of April, they won 4-1 at Plymouth. We were there, Steve, for that. Remember, earlier this season, Palace in the League Cup?
Yes, I do remember.
Yeah,
I know,
well,
why
you should remember.
My coat. Yes.
You still owe Dean Kiley a jacket.
Yeah, that was very kind of him, yeah.
Headed down his touchline for a throw-in off Aaron Cresswell. From West Ham United's point of view, Steve, I mean, it's damaging. 5-1's damaging. I mean, there's no two ways about it. In many respects, there could be mitigations. They've lost the ball in midfield. Here's Ahamada again finding Will Hughes. Liverpool, Chelsea, Luton at home, Man City. It's next four games.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, this is.
Listen, it doesn't matter who you're playing. You turn up like this, you're getting beat. It's as simple as that. You know, and Luton will beat you if you turn up like this.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, they had to have a go for pride's sake in this second half, but
Palace have given it away. It slipped forward towards Antonio, but Nathaniel Klein slides back to gather the ball, and it's bowled straight out by Dean Henderson towards Munoz.
Yeah, that's super from Klein. Antonio's away, he's breaking away from the centre of that back three, Anderson, and he's chased down a 5-yard deficit to make a sliding challenge to make sure Antonio Paulinho doesn't get through on goal.
Munoz, again, impressed by Daniel Munoz?
Yeah, I have been previously.
Yeah.
I don't think he's been as good today, funny enough. I've seen him better, but he's not really been needed. No. But he's got great energy. He gets up and down this right-hand side. I think he gives everything he's got.
Odsonne Edouard dribbles it into the penalty area. Ayew! That's
just lack pace, didn't it, the ball?
Not quite into his path where he wanted it.
Yeah, half a yard more, and he allows it to run across his body, and he gets the left foot shot across, but that, it just died on him, and he couldn't let it run across his body and was challenged. But again, threatening the movement off the ball down the side of defenders, no pressure on the ball, but allowing the pass to come in. Richards tight again on that first ball up. And here's a name we haven't mentioned much, Kudus. Barely been in this game.
Palace have won it back. West Ham United fans, though, to their absolute credit, Steve, on the far side in the...
There's not a lot you can do, though, as a
have not left. They've just stayed.
They've stayed. Yeah.
That's the credit I'm going to give them, because they've stayed. You know, you get... I mean, the away fans have stayed. If this had been at other grounds, they'd be off. I mean, I was at Chelsea on Monday with Everton. I know it's on Monday night, but at half-time, a third of the Everton fans had gone. They didn't come back. 4-0 down at the break, and they didn't bother coming back. That's out of play for a West Ham throw on the left-hand side.
Well, they wouldn't have left today. That's a cracking result for Everton, and it relieves pressure a little bit, but they're still very much in it.
Nottingham Forest aren't happy.
Yeah, but then, like I said, you know, what can you do? You know, there is nothing you can do. You can't change the result. You can't. It's done.
No. Yeah. Oh, Edouard inside the penalty area forces Fabianski from a really poor kick back to him to get it clear, and they've got the throw in, West Ham United, with a deflection over on that far side.
It is goalless at the moment. When these two sides met at Anfield in December, at one stage Fulham were leading 3-2. In fact, with 80 minutes on the clock, they were 3-2 up. They ended up losing 4-3 in an extraordinary fixture in Liverpool. We will take you back to Selhurst Park when we get the opportunity. I think a few gremlins there, where Crystal Palace are leading West Ham by 5 goals to 1, but on BBC Radio London Digital, we are now 9 minutes into the game between Fulham and Liverpool here at Craven Cottage. It is goalless at the moment. The best chance, Luis Diaz header that went just wide of the Bert Leno goal. The sun has disappeared behind a cloud as Leno plays it out to Bassi, and now it's a run from Anthony Robinson down the left-hand side. Infield to Pereira, who scored those 2 goals away against West Ham last weekend. Now it's a back heel from Harvey Elliott as Liverpool win it back and turn it back to their captain Virgil van Dijk in defence. Ender gets it back for Liverpool in midfield, out to Alexander-Arnold, and now it's with Harvey Elliott again, as the boos will let you know. Van Dijk turns the ball forwards to Grafenberg, now out to Robertson, just calmly passing it around Liverpool as they release it to their Brazilian goalkeeper. Ball goes up the pitch, taken away from Jota. Fulham are trying to win this ball back, but it's passing among the players in red at the moment, Bradley.
Yeah, it certainly is. Fulham got a little bit of encouragement with a couple of attacks down the left-hand side. Iwobi broke the press, just like Gravenberch has done now, and Liverpool could be breaking ball over the top again. Good goalkeeping and sweeping up from Leno. But you know, there are options, I think, when Liverpool go into, you know, a back three. If on the switch of play, Fulham can play and find the quality across the midfield lines from one side of the pitch to the other. Certainly with Iwobi and Deco Reed, good dribblers of the ball. Lovely from Muniz there. Good first touch.
Muniz squeezed by a couple of Liverpool players in midfield, and as you say, he's won his side a free kick. Endo and Van Dijk quickly around him. The ball with Paulinho. Paulinho out to Iwobi. 3 Fulham players inside the box. The block is by Van Dijk. from the cross from Iwobi. It is, though, a first corner as a result for Fulham of the afternoon.
Yeah, they're getting louder, Fulham, aren't they? Big diagonal, that's the switch and play that I'm talking about. He lunged for it, Robinson, missed it. Iwobi moving into the box. Could have perhaps kept going towards the corner of the 6-yard box, actually. Crossed it, Van Dijk on the cover. First corner for Fulham.
So it is goalless here at Craven Cottage as we hand you back to Selhurst Park and Phil Parry.
5-1-2 Crystal Palace here against West Ham United as Odsonne Edouard brings it under control on the halfway line. West Ham United making those 2 changes, Ings and Phillips coming on, and then Crystal Palace come away with it. Steve Brown will be with Bradley and Emma on DAB Digital Radio fairly shortly. The conclusion of this game, Steve.
Yeah. As
Odsonne Edouard flicks it in, Phil's got away from a couple of challenges. Palace trying to get forward now, sweeps it towards the right. West Ham United getting to that point, Steve, where they probably just want to go, just get out of the ground. Ayew has it, slips it in towards Eze. Jordan Ayew again, out wide towards Tyrick Mitchell on the left-hand side. Palace with 13 minutes to go, leading by 5-1, Steve Brown.
Yeah, and there was brilliant desire just as we got cut off from Richards, the left-sided centre-half of Palace, on a recovering challenge on an attempt that West Ham had created, and he just snuffed it out. And it's such a good day, he got the double deflection and out for a goal kick as well, but Palace in total control, just keeping possession of the ball. West Ham know this game's done. They're not really hunting it down in numbers or in tempo or intensity, so it's relatively simple for Palace at the moment.
Throw into Palace, right-hand side. Manchester United 2-0 up against Coventry City in the FA Cup second semi-final. Man City away in the final. Aston Villa now 3-1 up on Bournemouth. Everton beat Nottingham Forest earlier today by 2-0. Bailey with the third for Aston Villa, by the way, and here come Palace again. Eze going to ground inside the centre circle, no free kick. And again, Richards standing up on Kudus.
He's been excellent today.
Yeah,
absolutely outstanding. And I know he's not going to even make the top 3 performers because Mateta, Elise and Eze are going to be absolutely outstanding.
Yeah.
They're going to take 1, 2 and 3, but Richards defensively has stayed on it. He's got tight to his man every time. He's been aggressive in that first ball up. He's had a really good game.
In the WSL, Arsenal beating Leicester 3-0 as it goes forward towards Eze again in midfield. Jordan Ayew tries to take it away from Calvin Phillips. Ayew nibbles it in field. Phillips has come away with it. Kudus advances. Richards makes the tackle. Mitchell on the chest, scoop that wide towards Ayew. And Richards again just didn't get tripped by the footwork, and he just won the ball strongly.
He's had one of those days where everything he's done, every challenge he's made, when he's got it's just come off. He's been really good defensively, very strong, and very willing to go in tight with his opposition number.
Oh, it's a long ball over the top, and Eze is going to get on the end of it. He's got Odsonne Edouard with him. Eze into the penalty area. Eze! Oh dear. Really should have got that on target, and he's blazed it wide, Steve Brown.
Yeah, it's a wonderful run. I can't explain to you what Ben Johnson's done, but his run has caught Ben Johnson out all day up. He's gone short to receive. Johnson's got sucked in, and he's spun in over the back, and he got played in really well. He's got 30 yards of space to run into, and that's his Zuma come across to try and cover him off 1v1. And he goes from left side to right side, so he unbalances the defender and gets on his right foot. He slices it off the outside of his laces when he should have just curled it instep into the far corner. I mean, that was 3 or 4 yards wide, and it actually should have been 6.
Will Hughes comes off to be replaced by Jeffrey Schlupp, and we're also going to see Eberechi Eze being replaced as well, and replacing him. It's the other way round. Eze off for Schlupp, and Will Hughes was replaced by Riedeveld, wasn't he? Riedeveld for Hughes makes sense. Schlupp on for Eze. Palace leading by 5-1. WSL today, by the way, Manchester United 2-2 with Tottenham. Manchester City 5-0 winners over West Ham United. 2 late goals for Gareth Taylor's side there for Man City, and it's all about goal difference when it comes to the WSL, isn't it, really? Because they've played a game more than Chelsea. Their goal difference now is better than Chelsea's by 2 goals, but Chelsea, of course, do have a game in hand because they beat Barcelona yesterday. Kudus is offside, flag goes up against him. Richards won the ball anyway, and it will be Palace with a free kick in their own half of the pitch. Arsenal guaranteed a 3rd spot finish. And Champions League football next season. They've won the Conti Cup, but they've got to do something maybe to try and challenge at the top of the table next season under Jonas Eidevall, or maybe in the Champions League. Ayew down the right-hand side for Palace, back heel to Muniz. That's a great bit of play. Here's Odsonne Edouard, the ball from him to in for Muniz. It's been given away to Ayew, steps back, he's got Edouard in there. Somehow it's been scrabbled away by West Ham. Riedeveld completely scuffs the shot, and Palace recycle over on the far touchline. It's Ahmada, drifts away from a couple of challenges, plops it towards Ayew. Wow, how they even get a 6, Steve, I really don't know. Ayew, far post, whips it across, headed away from Edouard, and then a shot from Mitchell over the top of the bar. 82 minutes played. They can afford to be wasteful with chances. They lead 5-1.
Yeah, I mean, there was a audacious back heel in the build-up to that from Ayew to find Muniz, who made an inside over underlapping, and he couldn't find Edouard with the pass, but they still managed to win possession back and had a couple of bites of the cherry. Let's be brutally honest, this could have been 6, 7 or 8, couldn't it?
Yeah, and that is what I think. I mean, he may not talk about that, obviously, afterwards, the West Ham United manager, because he'll just want to focus on whatever the scoreline was. But he'll know, and his coaching staff will know, that this could have been an even more damaging scoreline.
Yeah.
Much more damaging scoreline. That, you know, one of those ones where people go, whoa, hello.
Yeah.
You know, when it becomes that sort of number, it really is quite drastic. It's given away by West Ham in the shape of Calvin Phillips. Riedeveld. Anderson has it inside the centre circle. Glasner applauding every successful pass and clever little dink forward. They've given it away though. Riedeveld picked up by Paquetá. Chris Richards though slides it away from Kudus.
Yeah, he's just having one of those games. He's been outstanding. You know, he's not been under too much pressure because of how the game's panned out, but absolutely every time he's been asked to make a challenge, to get tight, to win a ball, he has done. He's done his job very, very well today, Richards.
Maxwell Cornet's coming on for West Ham United.
Yeah, I mean, cheers.
What's the point?
Well, yeah.
Well, I mean, Steve, there's like 6 minutes to go.
No, look, you're literally maybe Paquetá to save him for the next game. I don't know. I can't give an explanation for that.
Schluck gets caught in midfield by Phillips, but the referee allows play to continue. Here's Ayew in the centre circle, turns around, pirouettes, space and time to pick out a pass, finds Riedeveld and slips it out wide to Muniz, back into Riedeveld again. Muniz is down the right-hand side. It came off a West Ham United foot. It's a throw-in.
Yeah, he had
Max Cornet is coming on, and it's not Paquetá, it's Kudus who's been taken on.
He's been pretty much anonymous. He's had 1 or 2 fleeting moments, but as you'd expect in a 5-1 loss as an attacker, he's not been in the game that much. So again, it goes back to what you said. You've got 5 minutes. What can be done, really?
It's not even game time. You can't even say you're getting game time in your legs, no, Steve, really.
You're not.
Might not even get to touch the ball.
You know, if you made that change with 20 to go, I kind of get it. But it's done now. Game moves on, but I thought Riedeveld there should have turned. He went back into where the pressure was, and he should have turned out and switched play.
Riedeveld sets things in motion. Palace have given it away a little bit to Wayward. It's going to be Johnson who slides it into Calvin Phillips. He pings it towards the right-hand side. Palace should have come away with that, but they didn't. And now it's going to be West Ham United slipping it towards Cresswell. Muniz was reading that. The referee's given the foul, I think, from Muniz on Emerson on this near touchline.
Yeah, Glasner
South Americans bouncing into each other.
Yeah, and Glasner just gives Muniz a little tap on the back because he likes to see his players want to get tight, want to win the ball. He doesn't mind a free kick given away 3 or 4 yards into the opponent's half. He's all about the tempo and the work rate.
Palace have won it back with pressure, and then Graham Scott says that's another foul by Munoz on Emerson, who's holding his lower back. 5-1 Crystal Palace, Fulham 0-0 with Liverpool at this moment. Aston Villa heading towards victory against Bournemouth, moving them 6 points clear of Spurs. Emerson is being treated on the sidelines by the West Ham United staff. Munoz wants to apologise to Emerson. He just then steps back out onto the pitch. Glasgow Rangers heading into the Scottish Cup final, 2-0 up against Hearts. And Anderson heads it clear. West Ham United temporarily down to 10, Steve, as it stands. It's the last thing they need, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the game's become a bit disjointed. I don't think it matters too much, if I'm honest with you, Phil. The game's seen so many changes.
Who's nicked it? Here's Riedeveld. Wow. Rather pedestrian with the ball at his feet.
Yeah, but again, you know, you've mentioned it already. Players that haven't played a lot of football, you know, so they're not as sharp. They don't.
Well, he's only started 4 games. Riedeveld. One of those was at Plymouth, where
absolutely. And if he's sharp, he turns on the back foot and he drives forward with that. Because he's not, he receives, he goes back, he plays safe, and that's what we're seeing. That's why the game's become a little bit lethargic and a little bit disjointed.
5-1 Crystal Palace, long ball looped forward down the right-hand side for Jeffrey Schlupp, left-hand side should I say, for Schlupp to chase, and then he poked it behind him and out of play for a West Ham United throw. Less than 3 minutes to go. There will be some added on time. David Moyes having a chat with Emerson on the sidelines.
Yeah, not sure what that's about. He's come a long way.
And Emerson getting some spray on the on his coccyx, Steve. It's painful if you get a nudge on your coccyx, isn't it, Steve?
It is, and it lasts for a long time, Phil. Yes, and it surprises you because when you have an injury there, which I have,
yes,
and you sit down and you get up, it is that first initial, it's extremely painful for sometimes days or weeks after. Not nice.
Not even sure what a coccyx for, Steve, are you?
No, I think it's. Yeah. I mean, it's
I don't know.
Basically,
it is cold.
Tail end of your spine, I believe.
Oh, right. Okay. It's a throw-in for West Ham. Calvin Phillips receives, jabbed forward to Paquetá, back to Phillips in his own half of the pitch. He's going to steam it all the way to his goalkeeper, Lucas Fabianski. 90 seconds to go. I know they have to play the added time allotted because goal difference could be important, but
yeah, they do. Listen,
it's a goal! Unbelievable! Dean Henderson will go down as an own goal, Steve Brown. That is absolutely ridiculous. It's gone back to him inside his 6-yard box. Dean Henderson completely miscontrols it and it dribbles over the goal line. What can you say about that? He has been at fault for both of West Ham's goals.
He really has. And
it's 5-2, by the way.
Yeah, and it's just come from a massive punt upfield from Fabianski. And Anderson wins the header sideways. The ball goes back to Henderson.
Goal? Let's have a look.
Oh yeah,
it's come off him. Yeah,
it's an awful. It's a limp lettuce foot.
Here's Danny Ings in the penalty area. Munoz is going to scoop it away.
What I will say, Phil, is he's had absolutely nothing to do. They've had one shot off target, West Ham, in his second 45. He's in the shade, it's freezing cold, and he's lost concentration. Simple as that.
Here's Paquetá slipping it forward to the Palace penalty area. Richards steers it clear.
I'm seeing Dino after, so...
Oh, yeah, God blimey.
As in not Henderson, Kylie. But what I would say is, yeah, he's absolutely...
I'm sure Dean Kylie's not been coaching him now.
Well, listen, luckily for him, and you can write this off as a goalkeeper, your team's been so good in front of you, they've given you a 5-goal cushion. So if you're going to have a day where you give away 2 goals, let it be today. And then the next game you play, make sure you're switched on, because you've got away with one. He could have done better on the first goal, and the second goal is just a disaster for him. But just remember, he's going to have to let that go. He's been redundant pretty much this whole game.
No, he has, yeah.
But it is
too many more of those. Too many more of those. He'll be redundant. Full stop, Steve. I mean, last week he was being talked about for England, and not this week. He's had nothing to do apart from block one shot, which he didn't, and then deal with a ball that's come back to him, which he didn't.
On what should be a spectacular day for everybody in that Palace dressing room. He's going to be with his towel over his head.
Oh man, he's going to get
down in a 5-2 win.
He's going to get piles of it though, isn't he?
Oh, he's going to get battered. But you'll take it because it's a 5-2 win. If you've lost today 2-1, his next week's ruined.
West Ham's had one shot on target. They scored two goals.
I know.
Unbelievable. Here's Emerson down the left-hand side for West Ham United, scooped away by Nathaniel Klein. Palace are leading by 5-2. 7 goals. There were 7 goals between these two teams last season, Steve.
Yeah. Well,
Paquetá goes to ground.
I mean, that's registered a shot on target for West Ham, but is it a shot on target? It's just a pass back. It's a pass back.
Yeah, it's not a shot on target.
No, but it's registered as a shot.
But West Ham didn't have the shot.
No, exactly. But
so
they've registered. Yeah, so whoever's doing the stats for today doesn't understand.
Yeah. It's all over at Sale Harlequins. Josh Watton.
Yeah, it's finished. Sale 37, Harlequins 31. What an entertaining afternoon it has been here at the Salford Community Stadium. The Sharks led from the 3rd minute when Ben Curry crossed for an early try. They led by 15 early in the second half. However, Harlequins did manage to cut the score back to 25-24. However, 2 late tries from Sale Sharks put the result beyond all doubt. However, a late try from Luke Nothmore meant a bonus point loss goes back to London with the Quins. Not the result they wanted, and Sale Sharks' playoff hopes are well and truly kicking. Sale Sharks 37, Harlequins 31.
Josh, thanks very much indeed. It's 5-2 to Crystal Palace here, and we're playing out the last knocking to this game. Still 3 minutes to go. Redefo went to ground, won a free kick. Palace have it with Odsonne-Edouard over the top. Zuma is going to slip it back to his goalkeeper. Fabianski gets it clear, Steve.
Yeah.
He didn't do a Henderson.
No. This game was never going to be the same when Palace took their front
forward
three.
Over the top this time, and here go West Ham United. Could be a 3rd goal. It's gone wide, driven wide by Maxwell Cornet. And Dean Henderson didn't have to make the save. Maybe actually getting out of the way with it was the best thing he could have done. He could have scored a 3rd goal, Dean Henderson. But that's gone out of play for a goal kick. But again, that's just a long straight ball. Was he onside?
No, I think he was offside, and I think it's been given, and the ball will be rolled out and a free. But I don't know why it's taken an eternity to get to that point. But yeah, I mean, I think it was actually a very good save from Henderson. He had no idea that was going to be offside, so it was a good save down low to his left.
So he's had to do something well.
Yeah.
But it won't count because he was offside.
Yeah, the game's drifted, and rightly so. You know, Palace put themselves in such a commanding position. They could do what they've done. They took off their front three, who were electric today, and the game's not been the same since.
Odsonne-Edouard to Ayew. Muniz is making a run down the right-hand side of the penalty area. Paquetá makes the block. Across comes Muniz to try and slow him down. Back heel, clipped away towards the halfway line. Anderson has it though for Crystal Palace, buccaneering his way forward, and then he slips it out to this right-hand touchline and dissects Ayew and Munoz, and it will be a throw-in to West Ham. 94 played, 6 minutes of added on time was being allocated. It's 5-2 Palace.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say that they're safe. You know, the last 2 results for Crystal Palace, one up at Liverpool. They are safe as houses, and a very good job done, because they, you know, that fixture list is tough.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, that surprise result at Liverpool gave them a little bit of confidence. They've played with that confidence today. They've been absolutely outstanding, and those 2 results back to back have given them Premier League status, I think, for another season.
Jared Bowen watching on from the sidelines. So Glasgow Rangers are into the final of the Scottish Cup against Celtic, Steve. Celtic and Glasgow Rangers playing out for a trophy in Scotland. Who would have thought, Steve? Never. Very rarely happens that, doesn't it? Very rarely happens. Here are West Ham on the halfway line. Paquetá pokes it up into the air. Danny Ings scrambling for it, hooked away. Redeveld wins the initial challenge. Legs flailing everywhere. Banted off Munoz. Throw in. 30 seconds to go. 5-2 Crystal Palace. Liverpool at home next week for West Ham, by the way. Early kick-off on
it's
Saturday.
West Ham that got the tough fixtures. They got that wrong.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace is a bit kinder.
Yeah.
It's West Ham that's got the really tough fixture list to come.
Well, they got Liverpool, Luton, Chelsea, Man City, right?
Yeah.
Here go Palace, maybe looking for a sixth. Ayew has it, back heels all over the place. He's turned into the West Ham half. Was he fouled by Paquetá? No, he wasn't, and then it's given away anyway to the goalkeeper. The referee is going to look at his watch and blow the whistle, and Crystal Palace celebrate back-to-back victories. Last week at Liverpool 1-0, today an emphatic first 32 minutes where they scored 4 goals with Elise, Eze, Mateta and an own goal from Emerson. West Ham United pull one back before the break through Antonio. In the second half, West Ham made some changes. First 10 minutes looked as if they were going to try and get back into it. Palace gained control, eventually scored a 5th goal through Jean-Philippe Mateta with his 2nd of the game. A bizarre, ridiculously bizarre goalkeeping foul up at the back for Dean Henderson, making it 5-2 for Palace in added time. But let's face it, that was probably one of the only big cheers that West Ham United were able to have this afternoon. Palace with a big win, West Ham United with some big games to come. It's finished here. Crystal Palace beating West Ham by 5 goals to 2. Steve, I'll get your thoughts at half-time if you don't mind hanging on in our second commentary game. But let's go to Craven Cottage. It's Fulham Liverpool, our commentary team, Bradley Allen and Emma Jones.